for certain types of content, and then of course they'll move on to add additional types of content as the years move on. So right now it's going to be, I think they was talking about they were using the excuse of child porn, or something like that, and then obviously it never ends with child porn. It always starts with child porn, and then it goes to terrorism or whatever else, and then copyright and so on.
But when does it get to encryption? It seems like you're skipping some steps.
So basically, the whole point is you have to enable the government to monitor the content. So the example would be something like WhatsApp. So they're not talking about
outlawing using encryption. They're talking about outlawing.
I want to back up. I haven't read the whole story yet, but from my understand.
Okay, well, let's look at the story then.
Would you mind bringing that up? Because to me, that feels like something we should be talking about. I mean, the proposal to prohibit encryption in the United States sounds like a clear violation of freedom of speech.
Well, it doesn't sound like they're doing that. They're not making it a crime to have a copy of PGP or to have a PGP encrypted file.
It's end-to-end encryption, effectively, because if you cannot
what is
monitor...
the difference?
Well, they're talking about end-to-end encryption in, messaging systems.
Well, that means that the message that you send is allegedly encrypted when you send it, transmitted encrypted, and then decrypted on the other end. Isn't that what end-to-end means?
So end-to-end means that the middleman doesn't know what it is that you're sending back and forth, and they cannot decrypt it.
But of course, in most of the time, if you encrypt something and decrypt something, there is no middleman. There's no middleman if you encrypt something, email it, and the guy you email it to decrypts it. There's nobody to sue there. It's they could only be dealing with automating the task of end-to-end encryption across a particular communication channel that somebody is monitoring.
I'll give you an example. If you're using, say, something like Telegram, and it's basically got this central server, and you're encrypted between your system and the server, and between the server and the other person you're trying to talk to. But in that scenario, basically, in this case, this is not how Telegram works. It is using end-to-end encryption. So if they were not using end-to-end encryption, though, this would be how it would work. And they would be able to see the messages, okay? They would be able to censor them. They would be able to block content. They'd be able to do text detect what was being sent and block it if it was unpopular speech or something like that.
Yeah, so Aria sent me a screenshot the other day. She was having a conversation with somebody through Facebook Messenger.
Right, that's not end-to-end. Wait, I'm not sure about Facebook Messenger. If Facebook's not end-to-end,
I suspect
Facebook Messenger is not encrypted. Facebook can see everything you post.
Right, so they blocked... she tried to give the person she was talking to a link to Dogecoin, which is a cryptocurrency. Yeah,
this is a perfect example.
And they blocked it.
Right.
They blocked Dogecoin.
So they're not using end-to-end encryption in that case. Yeah. And so basically...
But you said there's another way where the center party, the server or whatever, is encrypting communications to the participants, but keeping it unencrypted on their server.
Effectively, yeah. So what's going on is the middleman can see what it is you're doing. So, i.e., government, the corporation can see what you're doing. We're sending back and forth.
Now, does this affect standard email?
It's a good question. How can they? Who's going to be liable in the case of, say, sending a PGP message? Right?
Yeah, it would have to be everybody running an SMTP server in the world.
I don't know.
So this might actually be a decent thing in that it's going to force people off. It's going to force people back to email.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's hear what this is, because I still don't even know what the proposal is. Yeah, so what's going on?
It's basically based off what I've summary read, it sounds like they're basically going to make the company that developed the tool, so in that case, I guess PGP or maybe the GPG developers, liable for anything that gets transmitted. That's illegal.
See, that's going to be very hard because they've already determined that software is First Amendment protected speech.
Yeah,
I would agree, but this is what the bill says. Just because something is not constitutional doesn't mean they won't pass it.
Oh, it doesn't mean they won't pass it. I think they might have problems enforcing it, but let's hear the story.
Let's get into the story, and because I like I said, I only read the summary of it. This story is coming from The Verge, and the title of the bill is "A New Bill Could Punish Web Platforms for Using End-to-End Encryption."
Okay, so it's web platforms, not software developers.
I would hold off on that.
The guy who writes PGP is not a web platform.
Well, okay, so first of all, they're talking about Telegram in this story, and I haven't. You understand that these
headlines don't necessarily mean,
aren't accurate, right?
Yeah, let's go, please.
Yeah. All right. So a Section 230 change could have an ulterior motive. That's the sub-headline. A new bill would reduce legal protections for apps. So they're not just talking about websites, potentially jeopardizing online encryption. The draft bill would form a National Commission on Online Child Exploitation Prevention to establish rules for finding and removing child exploitation content. Yeah, so if companies don't follow these rules, they could lose some protection under Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act, which largely shields companies from liability over users' posts. Reports from Bloomberg and the Information say Senator Lindsey Graham is behind the bill currently dubbed the Eliminating Abusive and Rampant Neglect of Interactive Technologies Act. It would amend.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, tell me about it. It would amend Section 230 to make companies liable for state prosecution and civil lawsuits over child abuse and exploitation related material unless they follow the committee's best practices. In other words, ending end-to-end encryption. Because if it's end-to-end encrypted, you wouldn't be able to detect or pick up on that material that was being exchanged or whatever. They wouldn't lose Section 230 protections for other content like defamation and threats, but it doesn't matter because once you break end-to-end encryption, they can do, all bets are off basically. The bill doesn't lay out specific rules, but the committee, which would, and that's also dangerous because it doesn't say they can just change the rules arbitrarily and what do you want to call them? The administrative organizations that get set up for this type of thing are basically they can change this stuff at will generally.
Yeah, they become little unelected dictators.
Right.
Downsized DC had a thing about that called Write the Bills Act that wanted to shut all that down and make Congress write
the regulations.
Every enforcement.
Oh, wow.
Every regulation that they wanted enforced.
So it sounds like it, and you're going to tell us more here in a moment, but it sounds like they're saying that if the company doesn't do what this committee of bureaucrats says to do, then their protections get wiped away, and one of the things they're going to say to do is, you can't use encryption anymore.
Right, because then they wouldn't be able to stop the exchange of whatever it is, communications that they want.
The toll-free number here is 855-450, free like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Have you heard of LibertyCon? LibertyCon is not only a convention with great speakers like Whole Foods CEO and co-founder John Mackey and Nobel Prize winner Vernon Smith, but it's also unique because you get a chance to network with more than 70 pro-liberty organizations, one-on-one for the purpose of career advancement, business, and internship opportunities. April 3rd through 5th in Washington, D.C. You can learn more by visiting LibertyCon.com and use code FTL for a $10 discount on your registration. That's LibertyCon.com.
The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org.
Gold has definitely been on the move recently, and there is no more secure investment historically. McIlvaney ICA has been helping people take delivery of precious metals and find storage options for decades. They've helped thousands of investors with their precious metal IRAs. Call ICA today for your free portfolio review at 800-525-9556 or download their free report online at ICAGoldSilver.com to learn how you can double your gold and silver ounces even within an IRA. 800-525-9556. ICAGoldSilver.com.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. Local.bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live.
Ms. Maxwell's local council has decided that the pool, which is only 2 feet deep, needs a lifeguard. It's a kiddie pool. As if the lifeguard wasn't enough, she's also been told she must have insurance. The health and safety edict came after she wrote to the city council asking for permission to put a bigger pool in the communal garden outside her home. That was her mistake, asking for permission rather than forgiveness. But nonetheless, not only was she told it was too dangerous, but the council told her to empty the existing pool. The Portsmouth manager defended the ruling yesterday. Nigel Selly said, "We didn't have sufficient assurances that the risks associated with providing such a facility would be well managed. It's a facility. How dare you? How dare you erect this structure on your property?
It's an inflatable pool.
Without our permission."
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you're invited here. If you want to join us on the radio, you can. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Are they trying to outlaw encryption in the United States? Well,
yeah, absolutely, no. Because that's what no. Okay, so certainly end-to-end
encryption. They're trying to outlaw running certain online services which use encryption, but they are not trying to outlaw possession of PGP or writing PGP or anything like that. So to say they're outlawing encryption is, in several ways, a stretch. They're outlawing running any service, and they're outlawing running an online service that
permits
uses
the use of end-to-end
encryption,
yeah,
in a particular way.
Yeah, so I definitely want to make clear that there's been statements by the authors, I believe, this bill and others, other Congress critters that explicitly say they want to outlaw end-to-end encryption. So there's no question.
They do want to.
That's what this whole bill is about.
Yeah.
So
well,
whether or not.
So we're going to get into it further here, but I do want to let you know also about local.bitcoin.com. It is a global platform with privacy. They actually don't require ID to sign up for the site at local.bitcoin.com. It'll let you buy or sell Bitcoin Cash with dozens of payment methods, and it's super easy. It's a nice looking site. Go over to local.bitcoin.com. You can get started there. Again, local.bitcoin.com. So what you have said so far, and this is The Verge, that's the source that you're sharing this from here, Chris.
Correct.
They are saying that somebody has put forward a bill in Congress. I don't think that person's been named quite yet in the story, but somebody who hates privacy has put forward a bill that essentially is telling these companies that may have been using end-to-end encryption, meaning that the company is providing the encryption service, but they supposedly don't have the ability to, they don't have like a backdoor key or whatever to it. We don't really know, though, because you can't really, you can't look at their code, so you kind of have to take their word for it. But presuming that it's true that they don't have the key to the encryption service they're providing their customers, so their chatters can chat one-on-one without anybody in the middle being able to monitor it.
They would become liable, effectively.
This is saying that if companies continue to do this, that then they will no longer have the protections from liability that some Communications Decency Act gave to them at some point, where it said basically, okay, well, if you guys are doing things illegal over this encrypted channel, then we're not liable for it. Or if somebody posts something that's illegal on your website, you're not liable for it. And we've seen them trying to whittle away.
Generally speaking, yes.
Yeah, they've been whittling away at that in recent years, where we've seen companies like Backpage.com being targeted for what their users have posted on their sites. So I don't even know if that even holds true anymore, that they're not liable for the users' content.
The Backpage, the people behind Backpage won case after case after case. It's they did get shut down by the federal government here, but that case I think is still going through the courts. So I don't know that we have a conclusion to that.
So you don't think that's over yet?
I don't think that's over yet, and it seems
that was
hard
a
to believe.
vendetta against Backpage.com.
Yes, I mean,
too. They did everything they could whenever they saw something that looked like actual trafficking or looked like a child. They would be calling law enforcement on the phone, say, "Hey, somebody posted this."
They went above and beyond what they were required by law to do, and they were still attacked and targeted.
And now they're saying that if you use end-to-end encryption, presuming this law gets passed, it's a proposal,
bill still, right?
That if your site uses end-to-end encryption, you will lose any liability protections, and therefore, if it is found at some point, let's say let's say that a website's still using end-to-end encryption even after this law gets passed.
Right.
They're allowed to do that. They just lose their liability protections.
Right.
So if you guys are,
that's the idea.
In theory, you're doing something illegal over that end-to-end encrypted service, and somebody, let's say nobody gets arrested, and they go through his messages and they find that he was using this end-to-end service, then they can go after the website, basically assisting
the
them.
service that it doesn't have to be a website, whatever the service is.
Yeah.
So usually it's like something like
service.
Telegram. I want to say Telegram, but Telegram wasn't an example here. WhatsApp was the example because WhatsApp apparently uses end-to-end encryption. So
supposedly. Yeah, that's the Facebook Messenger thing.
Yeah, that would be illegal. They wouldn't be able to provide that app anymore that provides the end-to-end encryption.
Now, Telegram's not based in the United States. Would that be a factor?
Yeah, obviously it's a factor. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean the U.S. government won't attempt to go after the people behind it.
They are. They're trying to go after them for having a cryptocurrency now.
Well, this is true. But the question is, depending on where you are in the world and what country you're in and what the particular country says and whether or not it wants to cooperate with U.S. extradition and so forth, determines whether or not, and the reality is...
There's no extradition in civil cases. This is talking about removing protection from civil liability?
Both criminal and civil liability, actually. I believe it says criminal and civil liability here later in the story.
If you got more, let's keep going.
I can keep going. The bill doesn't lay out specific rules, but the committee, which would be chaired by the Attorney General, is likely to limit how companies encrypt users' data. Large web companies have moved toward end-to-end encryption, which keeps data encrypted for anyone outside of a conversation, including the companies themselves.
Right, which is the direction Mega Upload ended up going.
Right.
Remember,
and this is what they're
Kim.com.
trying to this is what the politicians are trying to target.
Right,
They don't like this end-to-end encryption.
Right. Remember, Kim.com, the founder of Mega Upload, he got raided by the federal government, the U.S. government, in Australia, I believe it was, or New Zealand.
New Zealand he was in.
But yeah, I mean,
he's from Australia, I think.
He was in his home.
Or no, Germany.
They came in with a helicopter and, rappelled down and raided his house. And
this was on behalf of the United States government.
It was the U.S. government, from what I understand.
They were partaking in the raid, I believe,
that went there. And
but it was in New Zealand, so
correct.
It was
they've been trying to extradite him.
With their government.
Sure, and they've been trying to extradite him ever since.
Right.
And they were saying, well, you were running this service. You knew people were using it for transferring movies or music and other pirating of licensed content or whatever. And he couldn't claim total ignorance because they weren't encrypted. But so then he launched a competing site. I mean, that was encrypted, and so then basically his point was, well, we don't know what you're doing now.
I mean, here's the thing. You have to have more specific knowledge. It can't just be general knowledge in order for them to, theoretically, legally, they're supposed to have like more specific knowledge, right? So if you are, for example, and a great example of this would be like LimeWire, I think. So LimeWire actually, or maybe... No. Actually, MP3 Tunes is actually a better example. So MP3 Tunes, the developers were uploading their own ripped music from CDs, audio CDs, and that was the only thing they did. They didn't publish it. This service. It was a music locker, okay, and they didn't publish this or advertise this as being for pirating music or anything of that nature, and yet they were still found basically to be liable because one of the developers tested the service with music that he ripped. Now, had he used, like fake audio that he created, like just,
whatever
random noise, the service would have been fine. But yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
So they're going to make a working group, task force or whatever, some set of bureaucrats or appointees or whatever, and they're going to sit there and come up with all these rules. So that's why the bill doesn't say what the rules are.
Nope.
The bill just says you'll have to follow whatever these best practices are.
They're effectively being given the authority to make the law.
Right.
So that's how that works. So we call
Which is typical
rules,
for regulations.
Because rules sound like, no big deal, but that's not really the case. They're effectively making law.
Right. Well, that's typical for bureaucracy, where the
absolutely.
bureaucracy or the bureaucrats are empowered to just write whatever they want. The FDA is a good example of this, the FCC.
Yep.
855-450-FREE. If you want to weigh in here, share your thoughts, 855-450-FREE, like freedom, or call us on the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm, and you can join us here on the radio. It's Free Talk Live.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now, with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then, install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Do you ever feel like you're in jail, a virtual jail, because of your job or maybe your current relationship where you're not allowed to do what you really want to do? I'm Caleb Jones, and I have taught hundreds of thousands of men how to create low-work, high-income businesses and how to date women under your terms. Watch our free, on-demand replay training with me so you can learn how to create location-independent income and date women the way you want. Go to alpha.freetalklive.com.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi, my name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveatpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. SaveAtPurse.com. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us on the radio. Our toll-free number for you is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. We're talking about a scary proposal that may eliminate the at least corporate use of end-to-end encryption. Government coming at this from the perspective of, well, you know, we gave you these protections from liability for what your users do, and, well, we could just take those protections away if you continue to use end-to-end encryption. At least that's what's maybe on the horizon if this bill moves forward, and there's going to be a strong argument from the statist perspective to move this forward. They're going to argue, you know, there's all these bad things being done on the internet, and it's all being protected by these corporations who, you know, they're saying they just want to protect their users' privacy, but they're empowering sickos and perverts on the internet, and so therefore we need to take away their liability if they keep giving these people access to tools like this.
You know what occurs to me, I was thinking child porn was the first thing they went to in this case, but actually what they went to first was terrorism.
Oh, really?
They started off with terrorism with the backdoors when they first started demanding backdoors in software, and they pointed out with the gun cases, or I don't even know if you can really call it terrorism, to be honest. But I think they've also brought up terrorism as well.
Terrorists are alleged to have used the Telegram platform, for instance. So, and Telegram was mentioned.
I'm kind of thinking more of like the iPhone cases where the FBI has, you know, said, well, this person killed a bunch of people in shooting up a movie theater or some sort of theater, I think it was, and they were arguing how Apple should have to backdoor their phones. Well, this is all kind of in that same scope, basically. So I guess the terrorism didn't scare people enough, and maybe now they're appealing to emotion.
We'll tell you more about it coming up here. By the way, I do want to let you know about Liberty.menu. It's for individuals who reject the initiation of force. So if you are somebody who agrees to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle, then you qualify to use Liberty.menu. It is a tool for the Liberty community, and it's at its core, it's a directory for events, businesses, digital content, and more. You can rate and you can review, and there's even a bit of a social network so you can connect and share with others. It's a great-looking site. It's easy to use, and it's free. So unless you don't want some free publicity, get on over to Liberty.menu and get signed up for an account there and list the things that you do so other people can find out about them. You can use code FTL, get a special Free Talk Live listener badge. We can't give you a discount because it's free at Liberty.menu. We'll continue with the discussion here, but let's go first to Peter. He's on the line in Virginia. Peter, you're on with Ian, Nobody, and Chris.
Hey, guys. I'm actually going to talk about something different.
That's okay.
It's way different. So I was actually wanted to talk about secession.
Oh, great topic.
And how as libertarians, not only do we abide by the non-aggression principle, but we ultimately want to decentralize our current system, which is heavily centralized. And what actually motivated me to call in was a discussion I had with a Beltway or DC libertarian about secession. And as you guys may know, those libertarians are quite different. If you mention secession, automatically they get triggered and label, people who advocate secession as, neo-Nazis or,
what?
Proponents of slavery or a racist. And
these people call themselves libertarians?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you say they're Beltway, which means they live in D.C.?
Right. And
wait.
I guess
you're saying Beltway libertarians are making the claim that gun owners are racist?
No, I'm
secessionists.
Saying people who advocate secession. Yes. And
he's saying they don't like secessionists.
Do they understand what that even means? It's not just a civil war.
No, exactly. But when you say secession, that's what pops up in their mind. And these people are associated with Beeson Magazine and with all other tiny little institutes in D.C. that apparently are libertarian. But most
call me skeptical.
No,
well, Reason is definitely libertarian.
Right. Most notably, Cato and Reason are perhaps the biggest ones in D.C. But those two organizations really are anti-secession. And in my humble opinion, they're not libertarian. Libertarianism, again, as I said, is not about having gay rights and black rights, but rather mainly abiding by the non-aggression principle and decentralization.
Well, certainly gays and blacks have equal rights to everybody else.
Right.
Well, there just aren't any special gay rights that straight people don't have, or the other way around.
Well, there's individual rights to the libertarian.
Yeah, they're just human rights. Everybody has the same set.
Yep.
Right. So again, I guess I'm sorry if I went on a tangent, but I just wanted to say that out, especially to your audience.
Huh. No, it wasn't. I don't feel like it was all that off topic. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about. End-to-end encryption is decentralized effectively. I mean, that's what it's doing. It's decentralizing. So,
well, it doesn't matter. You can be off topic, and that's totally fine.
Yeah,
so, what was it? The point of your call was to point out that some people in the movement don't agree with secession.
Right, and ultimately, I really do think that I myself am an anarchist, but I understand that people won't read Rothbard within the next 10. That is, everyone won't read in the U.S. won't read Rothbard within the 10 years, and then somehow we live in a Rothbardian world of anarchism. And so I think the next best thing that us as libertarians we can do is advocate for secession, namely because of decentralization. I'd rather have a state government say that I can't bear arms, because what I can do is just get in my car, first off sell my house, and then get in my car and then move to, say, Maryland, where they, for example, are okay with me bearing arms. I mean, that's the system of federalism. That's the system that Jefferson and the anti-federalists stood for, and people like Hamilton and his cohorts, they stood for what we have now, and that is a powerful central government that really wants to control everyone's life under the guise of national security, general welfare, or the necessary and proper clause. And it really is a shame that those libertarians that are associated with the institutes I named earlier are anti-secession just because they think that we would advocate slavery. That really shows you.
That's what their reason is? They think that secession is all about slavery still?
Do you have an article you could point to, or something that they've published that makes these claims? Because right now we've got a claim about a claim, and although what you're claiming they said is stupid, I would definitely like to see where they say that's their policy, because I certainly have never seen Reason publish that every secessionist is racist.
No, I actually work for one of those institutions, and I don't want to name which one. And I know their stance, and it isn't pro-secession. And again, I don't want to name which institution, but I work for one of those. The two I just named a couple minutes ago. And if you mention anything about secession, or if you mention the names Tom Woods or Brian McClanahan, for example, they look at you weird.
Well, and, Tom Woods, I mean, I like Tom Woods. He has written some questionable stuff, though. I mean, for example, the thing about politically correct, it's 36 questions about American history you're not supposed to ask. He goes out of his way to say, oh, well, George Washington Carver really wasn't that great. And it's like, who cares? That's not even a...
Oh, he just dropped off the line. Were you going to finish your point?
That's true. When somebody hangs up on me...
There's still people listening, though.
Right. We still got the rest of y'all out there. I don't know. It just seemed kind of petty.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put it past libertarians to be petty. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You know, what are some of the libertarian objections to secession? I've heard some directly from their mouths, and it didn't have to do with racism. Well, we can get into that coming up, plus more on this end-to-end encryption controversy. 855-450-FREE like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
Have you ever watched a video on the internet and found yourself waiting for the skip the ad button? The reason this takes a few seconds is because the video delivery companies get to collect impression commission, and the viewer never sees the advertisement. The company still pays full price to run the ad. Does this sound like a scam to you? Is there any wonder why internet ads are so ineffective? For over 100 years, radio has been a proven source for companies' messages. Radio listeners are engaged and want to support the companies that sponsor the shows they're so passionate about. Simple companies like window treatments, security, pillow companies, and more have been able to break away from the big box stores, building multi-million-dollar businesses. Find out what radio can do for your business. Call 877-996-4327 or advertise at gcnlive.com. That's advertise at gcnlive.com.
Most of you know that heart disease is the #1 silent killer in the U.S. What if I told you for just $54.95 a month you could fight against heart disease naturally? At Heart and Body Extract, we've been helping thousands of people get back to a healthier heart. Don't just take my word for it. Check out all of the success stories at hbextract.com, or to order, call 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. hbextract.com. Don't risk it when you can take charge of it.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything that you want here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Also, the Discord call-in line room's open to you at discord.lrn.fm. With you here tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
So we were talking about end-to-end encryption. We're going to come back to that, but our last caller brought up secession. And he says he lives in the Beltway. He was calling from Virginia, works for one of those organizations that he mentioned, either Reason Magazine or some Koch brothers organization, Cato, I think it was that he mentioned. And he says that within this organization, if secession comes up, there's a certain attitude or a certain objection that comes down from people, that is that they're against secession, and they bring up the idea of slavery as their objection to secession. So it's a very strange objection.
Sounds like they're trying to appeal to the masses because they have this idea that you can convert people. And I don't buy into that. I think anybody who's really a libertarian should be excited by secession, not because it's something that we can actually, secession, not because it's something we can actually achieve, but because of it's the only way you're going to achieve a libertarian utopia, so to speak.
So if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah, and I don't think utopia is a possibility because that's just not possible. But you mean a more libertarian society, one without this nasty, massive federal state apparatus overreaching.
You can free a state effectively at the state level, but you're never going to free the region at the federal level. I mean, it just isn't going to happen. So what's the only way to do that? It's secession. And if you're not for secession, it doesn't. You could be for secession.
Succession would have to do with following a thing.
Yeah, you would be the guy after him.
Secession, sorry.
Yeah. Like if there's a king and then
So in the case of secession, I would definitely oppose succession because I don't want another
state to follow it. Yeah, no doubt. Secession meaning to exit the agreement, to exit the United States.
Speaking of which, Brexit seems to be happening. They gave a speech to. They were waving British flags in the EU Parliament as they gave their farewell flag.
I still want to know what it means exactly because I have yet to see.
I have a story about it
or hear anything in practice. Like, is there a trade agreement between Europe now and the UK
there will be, undoubtedly. But the thing
is there no trade
it
right now?
means that Brussels can't impose. Well, you don't need an agreement to trade. You just need to not prevent it.
Well, right, but
they're going to prevent something.
I presume if there's no trade agreement, they're going to cut off all in and out of Europe to the UK.
Well, it's not the same as a blockade.
Is it?
We can get into
blockade is something you have to specifically do.
Look, hey, I've got a story here, but it's about a week old, so if there's a newer one, because the story I have is Britain's Brexit bill becomes law. So they finally passed a thing after arguing about it for the last 3 years or however long it's been. So we can talk about that, but I did want to, bring up some of the objections that I've actually heard. So our caller says he's heard certain things in D.C., but we don't live there, so we don't talk to those people. What is it that the people in New Hampshire are saying, who are libertarians, who are against secession? Because they do exist. Mark Edge is one of our co-hosts. He is one of those people. Jason Sorens is sort of in favor of secession, but he's also against it now. So Jason Sorens is the founder of the Free State Project.
I think that has a better argument.
So, the first question you have to ask yourself is when you say somebody's opposed to secession, does that mean they're opposed to secession as a general rule, or they're opposed to state X trying to secede from the United States right now?
I think in the case of Jason Sorens, who's the founder of the Free State Project, and I can't put words in his mouth, but from what I understand, from what he's said, is he's not necessarily against the idea of secession. He just thinks people aren't ready for it, so therefore it's not something he would discuss or want to talk about.
I think it would be against our current interests, secession, because effectively what you probably would end up doing is you end up cutting off the people who currently have an easy time moving to New Hampshire, assuming that this happens, which is usually what happens. You would end up curtailing your movement effectively.
Now, why would that stop people from
unless
moving?
You had some sort of free movement?
Why would
movement?
Certainly we wouldn't have anybody at the border saying you can't come in.
The problem is we're not we don't have control, right, of the state. Okay, let's be honest.
And we're not going to.
Right, we're not going to, and that's why it might be a bad idea, because like what happens if, I don't know, maybe the people in power today in New Hampshire say, well, we're going to allow immigration, but not if you're a libertarian, and then we never gain control of the state.
Well, that doesn't seem very likely, but I think that you would,
in the context of secession, is especially, because that would mean that somebody managed to secede.
You would need to have probably some level of influence in order to even get secession on the table, which would suggest that the libertarians would have influence at that point.
Not at that level. Anyway.
But what you do bring up, even though this wasn't your point, you were close to what an actual concern, I think, would be, which is to say that, let's say there's enough libertarians in New Hampshire to get secession on the table, to get it talked about, maybe get it on the ballot, get it voted on, and maybe it passes.
Okay.
But that we're not a majority, right? We just had enough people to make this possible.
Right.
And so then what you will have, and even within the libertarian movement, because not everybody who calls themselves a libertarian is in favor of open borders. So you would likely see a schism within the libertarian community over the issue of, all right, well, we all agree with secession. Let's say we're on that table. We're to the point where everybody agrees with, or enough people agree with secession, but then they don't agree on border policy after the secession. So now you've got the open border people who are saying, well, we want this place to be wealthy. We want immigrants to come in here. We want to give people a shot at freedom. And then the other people say, no, we don't want freedom for immigrants. We want to make sure we keep this thing the way it is. We don't want socialists coming in here.
Of course, the best argument against immigration is the existence of the welfare state.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I include things like hospitals that have to treat you for free and schools that have to educate you for free.
And maybe you could get rid of that too.
That's part of the welfare state. So once you've gotten rid of that, I think that would take the wind. Well, first off, it would take the wind out of the sails of the people who don't like immigration.
Yeah, that's true.
The second thing is it would definitely take the wind out of the sails of anybody who wanted to come here to sponge off the system. Why would they leave the United States? Why would they leave?
But you'd still be fighting against the xenophobes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be fighting against them no matter what.
I think the issue is whether or not the people who are against immigration and they use the excuses that they use, are they really libertarian? And I only say that because I question, or I'm doubtful, and I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, but I suspect a portion of them are still going to be against immigration, even if you get rid of
because they're afraid of
state.
I think there's a small portion that would, but I think that even that, I think that would be significantly decreased, because we also wouldn't have a war on drugs, so there would be no gang activity to worry about. There's
I don't think it's a substantial concern, to be honest. Like, I don't think there's enough of people out there who are like that anyway, but
who are like what?
Who are favor closed borders that are actually libertarian.
I mean, they all went over to the alt-right. I don't think there's many of those still trying to call themselves libertarian. They found their forever home.
All right, so I'll bring up the other objection from Mark Edge, who's one of our co-hosts here on Free Talk Live. He's against secession because he's afraid of the federal government.
Well, yeah, they might kill us is the best reason to oppose secession that I can think of. That, and it doesn't make sense to secede until the majority of the people wants to secede.
Well, they would have to. They'd have to vote for it. Just like with Brexit.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
I think the argument against effectively that stance is that, well, we can vote for secession and then well, if let's say we do, right? Let's say that happens. It still is going to take people to get up in arms and fight the federal government if that's what people are going to do. But nothing is forcing.
Well, maybe
you don't have to fight them.
That depends on depends on who's in power in the federal government at the moment that this happens.
Sure.
So
the feds
really,
could just let
if you're
it go.
a secessionist, maybe we should be starting our asking our presidential candidates, would you go to war with a state that
Good question.
Let's assume that the federal governments would fight a war over this, okay? The question is, if this is now a libertarian utopia, right? Who's going to force Mark Edge if he's concerned about being killed? Who's going to force him to go to war? Nobody's going to force him to go to war.
Nobody's not going to force him to go to war.
If they nuke Manchester and he's in Manchester, he's dead, even though he didn't go to war.
No, that would. New Hampshire's too small of a state. They would never nuke Manchester.
I think it's highly unlikely, but people do make that argument. You can never resist the government. They've got nukes.
They'll roll in tanks. 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733. They'll assassinate people. They'll assassinate the leaders.
They will kill people, but they won't nuke.
There's more coming up here. Tell that to Japan. More coming up.
I want to tell you about my favorite cryptocurrency wallet, Edge Wallet, at edge.app. Edge is the wallet I use more than any other, and that was true long before Edge Wallet became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. Edge Wallet allows you to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and more. It's available for both Android and iOS, and you can download it via the Play or App Store or via Edge Wallet's website, edge.app. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet.
Free Talk Live is now on more than 200 radio stations nationwide. We've had more than 18 million podcast downloads, and we claim millions of listens a month. We're a multimedia ad venue with print, email, web, and terrestrial radio marketing platforms. We strive to have ad packages that cater to advertisers big and small. Contact me today at marketfreetalklive.com to see what we can do for you. Marketfreetalklive.com. If you're a local advertiser, contact this station. But if you can service a national audience, contact me, marketfreetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with the SNLS Network and listeners like you. Online at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,574, silver at $17.84, and Bitcoin is trading around $9,538. Today's gold, silver, and Bitcoin prices are brought to you by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven. The Liberty Beat and Brave Botanicals believe so strongly in the power of kratom, we're giving it away for free. Just go to libertybeat.news/free kratom. This is the Liberty Beat at snlsnetwork.com. In the news, President Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, on Thursday, suggested the deadly coronavirus that has sparked fears of a global pandemic could have a bright side, at least for the United States. More jobs.
So I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America, some to U.S., probably some to Mexico as well.
The coronavirus has killed at least 170 people in China and has infected nearly 8,000 more as the Chinese government and other nations have worked to contain the outbreak with travel bans and restrictions. Ross's rosy assessment of potential U.S. economic gains from the virus was immediately denounced as grossly callous. Ever wonder where we find all the news to report right here on the Liberty Beat? Visit snls.news to get the world's most censored media published all in one place. Save yourself from the endless time spent searching for reliable alternative media. SNLS News makes it quick and easy. No ads, no clickbait, just raw headlines, 24 hours a day. Visit snls.news and get informed today without the corporate media spin. Your news now continues. Recent reports indicate that data gathered by automakers and tech companies could be the next front in the battle over digital privacy. Activist Post reports that in early January, companies at the CES 2020 displayed their plans for making use of the surprising amounts of data gathered by newer model vehicles. Amazon, Intel, Qualcomm, and BlackBerry were among the companies seeking partnerships with automakers who are also searching for methods to monetize the data gathered by their vehicles. Bloomberg reports that modern cars roll out of factories packed with cellular connections, powerful processors, and a growing suite of sensors, including cameras, radar, and microphones. That's turning them into the next information goldmine, rivaling the data-creating capabilities of smartphones. Bloomberg also notes that Intel announced a new stage of its Mobileye technology, which allows for driver assistance and Intel to gather data from cameras, chips, and sensors within the vehicle. Manhattan-based Clearview AI is collecting data from unsuspecting social media users, and the Chicago Police Department is using the controversial facial recognition tool to pinpoint the identity of unknown suspects. That's according to a report from the Chicago Times. And according to a bombshell New York Times report, it's also being used by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. Activist Post reports the software's creator maintains that it's purely an after-the-fact research tool for law enforcement, not a surveillance system or a consumer application. However, privacy advocates are saying the technology is so intrusive and ripe for abuse, its use should be immediately halted. And earlier this month, a lawsuit was filed in federal court seeking to do just that. Chicago attorney Scott Drury, who filed the lawsuit, describes CPD's signing of a 2-year, $49,875 contract with Illinois tech firm CDW Government to use Clearview AI software as frightening. Support for the Liberty Beat is brought to you by the Homestead Guru. The Homestead Guru is an educational website offering tips, tools, news, stories, and commentary on everything homesteading. Topics include green homes, gardening, animal husbandry, do-it-yourself, home remedies, alternative energy, survivalism, unschooling, and more. Those details are found online at thehomestead.guru. This is the Liberty Beat, powered by the SNLS Network at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
It seems like we're constantly hearing different fitness advice. Exercise 2 to 3 times a week for at least 30 minutes a day. And don't forget cardio. But don't exercise too much or you'll get hurt. So, how much exercise should you be getting? Well, actually not that much, since the human body is only built to withstand walking a short distance before lying or sitting down again. In fact, a group of biologists from Stanford found that walking more than 5 feet at a time can cause joint pain, fatigue, and even extreme hunger. The study concluded that the maximum effort the human body can safely endure is reaching for an item high on a shelf. Our bodies simply aren't built to stand up and move around. So maybe those high-intensity spin classes and daily jogs aren't such a good idea. Instead of walking up the stairs every day, try taking the elevator whenever possible. You can even use a fitness tracker to let you know when you've been exerting too much energy. Your body will appreciate it. For The Onion, I'm Jill Hooper.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want. We're talking about secession. We've also got some tech news that we can get back to, like banning encryption. That's on the table, plus 3D guns as well. There's a lot that we can discuss here tonight. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Plus, speaking about technology, the one of the big radio behemoths, iHeartMedia, went through a major bloodbath, firing over 1,000 employees, apparently, in recent weeks, just within the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. And what is that going to mean for the future of broadcast media? We can talk about all of that. Of course, your calls and thoughts are welcome. Our number is 855-450-FREE. We were just discussing secession and how it is that there's some people within even the liberty community who don't support secession. And they have differing reasons for that. Some, apparently, according to a caller earlier, believe that it is too affiliated with the idea of slavery, that they don't even want to touch it. Others would say that they might support secession, but just not right now. And to those people, I would say, if not now, then when? How will you know that it's the right time to get out there and support this?
I oppose trying to secede today, and I would say, for one thing, first we would have a majority that wanted to secede. Yeah, but thought that secession was a good place in the first place.
You don't get to the majority unless you start talking about it.
You do have to advocate.
You have to have somebody out there saying, "Hey, we should do this," so you can have the conversation.
Yeah, but when okay, that's my answer then. If not now, when? When we have a majority that wants it,
but
which doesn't mean I think we should argue against secession in principle.
Okay, but the people who say that are against advocating for it. They say,
okay, I'm in favor of advocating for secession, but I'm not in favor for doing it right now.
It turns people off. It makes you look crazy, and that's why they're against it.
Secession?
Advocating for it. And
So I think, that's what they think.
And I understand that perspective. I disagree with that perspective.
Yeah, that's not my experience at all.
The reason I disagree with it is because what you're trying to do by not advocating for or advocating against it is effectively you're trying to attract people who are not libertarian.
Well, no. Not that these people are against it. They're just not for it, right? So they're not like
they're not against it. They're not fighting on that hill yet.
They will lose. They think they're going to lose people effectively.
Yeah, they're worried about what people will think. These are the kinds of people who will stay away from certain libertarian issues because they're worried about what people will think. They can't hold to the principles of liberty clearly and honestly.
They're trying.
They're also though a necessary conduit of people in. So that doesn't bother me. That's like, the perennial issue of should the Libertarian Party be minarchist or anarchist? And I'm an anarchist who thinks the Libertarian Party should be minarchist because the Libertarian Party isn't the destination, it's a conduit.
I think effectively the people who are trying to be libertarian and they're not looking at moving to New Hampshire are effectively, or at least doing something of this nature, they're effectively trying to get people who are not libertarian and never will be to become libertarian. And it's just it's a futile thing to do.
See, I don't know about that. I mean,
I know you have
certainly there are people there are a lot of people in the world. As a matter of fact, a great majority of libertarians in the world haven't been libertarians their whole life. They were something else, and then they became a libertarian.
And I question a lot of the people who think they've turned to libertarian, like they've become a libertarian. Like I question whether or not they're actually libertarian.
Okay, well, I wasn't always a libertarian. Does that mean I'm not a libertarian now? Have you seen any evidence of that?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, what you got?
I'm not saying you're a terrible libertarian. I'm just not sure that, I mean, it's hard to find somebody who's really 100% libertarian. So
is it? I find that there's quite a few of them around here.
I don't know. I think that I mean, there would have to be a difference between a person who was a libertarian and a person who wasn't. So what's the difference? In what way am I not a libertarian?
The question is, to what degree do you stick to your principles effectively? And,
are you saying
have
he
you
hasn't
ever known
stuck
me
to
to be
his
unprincipled?
I don't know. It's one of those questions where it feels like sometimes you have occasionally gone in a direction that I'm not so sure about.
Like what?
I'm not really sure. It's not been very often, so it's
okay. Well, if you don't have something, then you don't have something.
I'm not going to claim I do.
Okay.
I would say that nobody's one of the most principled libertarians I know. So
I would agree. He's 99.95%.
Okay, but you can't identify the 0.05.
And there will always be disagreements on strategy.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Is secession a good idea is a very different question than should we secede right now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's get back to that question then, because the people who are saying they don't necessarily oppose the idea of secession, but they just don't want to talk about it, are not helping things because they they're afraid of this particular issue. They're worried about what people are going to think about it, and maybe they're worried that people are going to think slavery or whatever it is that they think of, or the feds are going to roll in tanks, they're going to drop a nuke, all these sort of objections that come up. But the reality of it is these people are just afraid without any real reason. They're afraid it's all in their mind because they haven't actually done any outreach. They haven't actually tried to talk to people about secession in any kind of meaningful, massive way. And I have done this. I've gone out and I've done pro-secession outreach here in New Hampshire on a number of occasions over several years. Usually it's around Independence Day. We'll go out and do some outreach. I've done some at the county fair as well, handing out flyers about New Hampshire declaring independence. Yep. And there was an organization that still exists. They don't do a whole lot, but they're called the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence. And at one time they came out with a pretty nice flyer, and I had a bunch of them printed up and went to the fair. And I remember this one specifically because I was there promoting like Bitcoin or whatever primarily during the fair, but I ran out of Bitcoin flyers. And so like on the last day, it was one of the later events, like the Demolition Derby or something. So there was a ton of people walking by. And
okay, Demolition Derby might be a skewed audience, but go ahead.
Well, you're talking about these are the kinds of folks who come to a county fair. Okay, it's the folks folks from out in the woods, some of whom don't even have the internet. That's the kind of folks that you're talking to. And I handed out a bunch of these flyers. I mean, hundreds of flyers for secession, and there was not one negative response. Now, that's not to say that there weren't people who thought negatively, but as far as like what somebody said to me, there was a lot of positive response, and it wasn't just this one occasion. It was also outside of the Independence Day baseball game, and generally whenever it is I do outreach for secession, the responses are very positive. People like the idea of New Hampshire. They don't like the idea of the federal government, and there's a lot of big smiles that come across people's face when they read the flyer and they're reading what it says, and positive comments. I have to say, I think this issue is a winning issue if people weren't afraid to take it on directly and advocate for it, to be a regular person in whatever role in life that you are, at some workplace or job or, wherever you meet people and hang out with people, and talk about secession. Drop the idea into a conversation. Somebody's complaining about Trump. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have Trump to deal with, or whatever, right? Oh, those Democrats. Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have
I had really good success. I was just curious what would happen, so I dropped into several groups on Facebook, questions about if the federal government stopped, or if the federal government either repealed the Second Amendment or started large-scale gun grabs, would you favor seceding from the Union? And the overwhelming response was yes, like 97%. And the interesting thing is, these are kind of garden variety conservatives.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, that's a good question, but it still requires if this tyranny. What about if you just ask, would you support secession now? Like,
well,
if you could leave?
I've asked that question as well, and of course you get lower numbers of yes answers.
How much
The
lower?
reason I put it conditionally is because once you've said yes to doing it conditionally, it's no longer unthinkable to you. So that's crossing the first barrier.
That's true. That's an old sales approach where you get the customer to say yes, and then you get them to say yes again. You get them to say yes again.
Exactly. And in political persuasion, that usually means the person is passing through a succession of people.
Yeah. All right, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us here. Plus, let's talk about Britain and what's going on over there with the Brexit, an actual secession going on as we speak. That's coming up, and you can join us. This is Free Talk Live.
Ike was such a sweet, lovable animal, and people would want to pet him, and they'd come up and they'd get close to him, and it would be this instant, oh! My dad didn't want to touch him. It's like, ooh, get the stinky dog away from me.
Even after we'd give her a bath, she would still stink.
Very stinky, both bad breath and bad gas. I asked the vet, and he said some dogs are just stinky.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dinovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa, the digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
The ingredients convinced me that it was definitely worth trying. After about a week, he started smelling normal. My husband and I were really kind of astonished.
Dinovite is nutrition.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
I can definitely say that I have found the best cryptocurrency wallet. Certainly the best named one. I'm Mark Edge, and I love the Edge wallet. I've been using it for the last few months. You can buy, sell, trade, and hold your cryptocurrency securely. I trust my holdings of all the major cryptocurrencies to Edge wallet, and you should too. No long phrases to memorize, just a username and password. Secure your freedom with Edge wallet. Get it now on Apple or Android in the App Store or at edge.app. The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us if you want to talk on the radio about whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And an update for you from LibertyCon, which is coming up in just a couple months from now. It's going to be April 3rd through the 5th in Washington, D.C., and we've told you about some of the great speakers they've got lined up. They're also going to be doing a couple of debates. One of them will be called Is Government Necessary?, featuring David Friedman and Timothy Sandefur. David will be arguing that government is not necessary, while Timothy Sandefur arguing that it is. And there's another debate scheduled between Gene Epstein, the economics editor for Barron's, and Stephen Pearlstein from the Washington Post, called Does Capitalism Require Government Intervention? In this debate, Gene Epstein will argue that it does not, and Pearlstein will argue in favor of intervention. Of course, again, great speakers like John Mackey and others. Go to libertycon.com to get registered and use code FTL to save $10 on your registration. Plus, there's an even deeper discount if you are a student. And libertycon.com wants you to be there, so we'll look forward to seeing you because Free Talk Live will be broadcasting from the event. And you'll be there and networking with more than 70 pro-liberty organizations, if you like, for career advancement, business, or internship opportunities. It's libertycon.com, April 3rd through the 5th in D.C.
Save $10 by using code FTL, like Free Talk Live. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu from London. The AP reporting with little fanfare, Britain left the European Union on Friday. That's today. After 47 years of membership. Taking sorry about that. Try that again, nobody.
Yay!
Now I can hear you. Taking a leap into the unknown in a historic blow to the bloc. Now, is it really a leap into the unknown, or is it just doing what they used to do?
Well, I mean, the future's unknown for everybody, but they were an independent country or an empire far longer than they were chattel of the European Union.
Right. But it's interesting. So I was reading up on it over break here and over the commercials, and I did find out some interesting stuff. So apparently the customs union is still in effect for another year until the end of 2020.
Okay.
So we may not actually, even though they're no longer allowed to vote in the as far as the European Union is concerned, the British, they will still have free trade between at least Britain and the European Union.
Yeah,
for a year.
Nigel Farage's speech to the European Union was pretty good. I saw it on YouTube.
This was the exit
today.
speech, the goodbye speech?
Yeah, he said, we wanted a common market, not a common army, not a set of unelected bureaucrats able to control us from without.
So, no, it's interesting because there are other, so the European Union, there's customs unions that are not part of the European Union, I believe, or something to this effect. So like there's different countries that have different agreements that are not part of the European Union too.
Sure.
So nothing says that the UK could not be part of the
those
customs
other
union,
agreements,
but not part of the European Union. I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, the only thing that would prevent them from trading with the European Union would be if they refused to do it or the European Union refused to do it, which they haven't. Which they haven't done yet. They can have a trade war just like we can have a trade war with China, but trade war is not the default position.
Well, usually
the default position is that borders can cross, or goods can cross borders freely.
Well, anything that happens is going to have some sort of agreement here. So between the governments, at least, right? So it's I think that ultimately it's going to be the only question is whether or not you have to pay a customs duty when a goods transition between the UK and European Union and the other way around. That's the only question.
And this is going to affect you because you do international business.
This could potentially affect me. Yeah.
ThinkPenguin.com. Yeah. The UK's departure became official.
Well, okay. How would it affect you? Because you're not shipping things from Europe to the UK or vice versa.
Actually, I thought he was.
Are you?
Well, so we've changed our setup, and that's what we were. We used to ship from the UK directly, but now we're not. So yeah,
don't you have a European shipping house now?
It's. I don't want to get into the details of our operation, but yeah. So basically,
you don't ship everything from Keene, New Hampshire, though.
No,
right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it can potentially have an effect on us still. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the UK's departure became official at 11 p.m., which is also midnight in Brussels, where the EU is headquartered. Thousands of enthusiastic Brexit supporters gathered outside of Britain's parliament to welcome the moment they'd longed for since Britain's 52 to 48% vote back in June of 2016. It was close to walk away from the club they had joined in 1973. The flag-waving crowd erupted in cheers as Big Ben bonged 11 times on a recording. Parliament's real bell has been silenced for repairs. In a message from nearby 10 Downing Street, Prime Minister Boris Johnson called Britain's departure, quote, a moment of real national renewal and change, unquote. But many Britons mourned the loss of their EU identity, and some marked the passing with tearful vigils. There was also
they can still legally move to France though
anytime, right?
Yeah, they've got for at least the next year. I'm pretty sure they're going to have open borders effectively, so that they can escape.
It does sound like that. It's certainly true for trade.
Yeah, and surely the EU would want to welcome its supporters, right? Like, oh, come on, you want to stay with us? Just move into Germany.
See, what I would say is, hey, there are probably people who are in European Union countries who don't want to be. Maybe some of those
little
could go
trade
to
deal.
Britain.
Yeah.
So interestingly, there's already been companies and corporations moving out of the UK and into Europe as a result of prior to,
because they're afraid of what's coming.
Yes, because obviously
my guess is there's going to be significantly less regulation in the UK than in the EU in the long run. So I think you're going to see a lot of businesses going the other way.
What makes you think the UK won't pass their own regulations?
I think they're leaving the UK because the UK's population is smaller and there's a bigger market in the EU.
Well, there is that. That's one thing, but I think that you'll have people moving both, because every business has its own needs. Some businesses will now in the UK have reasons to either have a branch in Europe or to be in Europe. But there are also companies in Europe that have reasons not to be in Europe. For example, all of the insane regulations and taxation associated with the European Union.
I don't disagree that the European Union has lots of taxation and regulation. The problem is that the UK is not exactly this libertarian utopia. They're not looking.
No, they're absolutely not.
They're not looking to get rid of the regulations.
You realize that the word utopia means nowhere. So there is no utopia. Utopia doesn't exist anywhere. There are degrees of good and bad.
Yeah, I know utopia basically cannot exist. It's an imperfect world.
Yeah. Well, by definition, the whole meaning of the word utopia is a place that can't exist.
Yeah.
Many Britons have they've mourned their loss. There was also sadness in Brussels as British flags were quietly removed from the bloc's many buildings. Whether Brexit makes Britain a proud nation that has reclaimed its sovereignty or a diminished presence in Europe and the world will be debated for years to come. While Britain's exit is a historic moment, it only marks the end of the first stage of the Brexit saga. When Britons wake up on Saturday, they'll notice very little change. The UK and EU have given themselves an 11-month transition period in which the UK will continue to follow the bloc's rules to strike new agreements on trade, security, and a host of other areas. But at the very least, the symbolic step, the first step, has finally been taken. It only took more than 3 years for these politicians to finally allow it. 855-450, free like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Have you heard of LibertyCon? LibertyCon is not only a convention with great speakers like Whole Foods CEO and co-founder John Mackey and Nobel Prize winner Vernon Smith, but it's also unique because you get a chance to network with more than 70 pro-liberty organizations, one-on-one for the purpose of career advancement, business, and internship opportunities. April 3rd through 5th in Washington, D.C. You can learn more by visiting libertycon.com and use code FTL for a $10 discount on your registration. That's libertycon.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want here. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We're talking about the Brexit that is apparently actually happening. They've finally gone through the first step. Well, there's an 11-month-long transition period that has begun as of midnight Brussels time, so they've just crossed over that threshold a few hours ago. And so some people are pretty excited about this. Others, they're upset. And you're welcome to share your thoughts at 855-450-FREE. I support it. Whatever it is that results from it, I support any amount of secession. I don't care if you're a socialist who wants to secede or if you actually love freedom and you want to secede. I want to see more secession, more decentralization, smaller governments, smaller footprints for those governments. So with you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
And the next generation wallet is coming from Divvy in just a few taps. They say you'll be able to spend, earn, store, and exchange digital money in seconds. Divvy says also you'll be able to send money around the globe in only a swipe and instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat currencies like the dollar in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. There's no need to wait, though, as Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with their multi-tiered masternodes, allowing anyone to earn by supporting the Divvy network. When the new Divvy wallet launches, because of Divvy's relationship with Western Union, Divvy will be in 200 countries, including the United States. You can learn more at divvyproject.org. That's divvyproject.org. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. Then we can talk more about secession, but we've got Mortified Penguin on the line on our Discord server. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Good show you're having tonight. So I wanted
What's
to
up,
call
Marty?
What you say?
I said, what's up, Marty?
Hey, yeah. I heard you, Chris, saying maybe questioning nobody's libertarian credentials or something. And
okay, all right. Hold on a second. I'm saying that nobody's 100% perfect. That's what I was saying. Okay, so don't go saying he's
exactly. That's what I am.
You're 100% perfect? Are you really
Nobody's perfect. Everybody says so.
All right. I wasn't trying to question his credentials. I think he's
I was holding his feet to the fire.
That's how it came off, though.
I know. He's as libertarian as anybody else in the room.
Okay, so you're saying you are only 99.95% libertarian then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah.
The question is, what is principle libertarianism? What is keeping to your libertarian principles? And I think the idea of it is it seems simple on its face, and you can boil it down to something simple, maybe. But when it comes to practice, so we kind of, we kind of look at it as, okay, what if we snapped our fingers and got rid of this particular function of the state, and then this particular function of the state, or what if we concentrated our efforts on these things, or whatever. And I don't think, for one thing, that's how the state gets. It's not abolished, really. It's how the state gets replaced by liberty. But if you were to call out certain things, or just take down pieces of the state, piece by piece, I think there's a lot of difference and nuance and debate about how that would happen. I read about contextual libertarianism.
Right. I think some people want to see the state go away through being outcompeted, like the agorists. Some want to see the state just ignored. Some want to see the state slowly replaced by some sort of privatization process.
Some want to see him shot in the face.
Well, I don't think violence is going to help, but I understand.
But there are people who want that.
Within the context of self-defense, sure.
Okay, but so here's I can just think of a few examples. And some of them I've read, and some of them I've read an essay on this topic actually, and then also thought of myself. So here's one easy one. Would you abolish police if you could? Which you really can't. But would you abolish police if you could?
Yes.
And and before you allowed users of cannabis to carry, to buy and own weapons, of course you wouldn't, because they wouldn't be able to defend themselves.
Wait, what?
The question is, yeah, you wouldn't certainly do it in that order. It would.
Well, why not? Why would that be a problem?
Yeah, why would that be a problem?
If you abolish the police, then why would anybody be afraid of carrying a weapon if they were a cannabis user?
That's a good point.
Yeah, but there are people who are libertarians who don't want to completely abolish the police, and those are the minarchists. Who say that the function of the police should be to only to deal with things that are initiation of force. So they should be in the position of defending others. Now, I personally disagree, but I agreed with that for a long time, that there should be some level of centralized police.
Yeah,
and it certainly puts you in the position of being a libertarian, but not an anarchist.
Yeah. What if you would? Okay. What about a financial regulation? Sure, we can understand that financial regulations basically skew the market and cause a lot of things, including the market crashes that we've seen.
See, that was the last thing I came around on. I was a libertarian socialist even after I joined the Libertarian Party, and then I started reading about economics and went, oh wow, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, but an example I read is like, would you abolish all financial regulation if the banks are prevent banks from investing in certain ways and prevent banks.
We're going to have to let you go. You're kind of breaking up there, but I mean, would we abolish financial regulations? Of course. It's the financial regulations that create these oligopolies of banks controlling people's money and giving people no real choice as far as, you can pick Bank A or Bank B, but they're all the same, basically.
Right. That's how it is today.
They're all members of the same cartel.
Right.
If we got rid of the regulations, then all of a sudden we would have, well, depending on your perspective, good and bad players. And it's up to you. It's your obligation.
Instead of just
your
bad players.
Due diligence. Right, exactly.
And a bad, corrupt system.
To distinguish between the good and bad players, or whichever player in the market is best suited for you. Yeah. Because sometimes a good player for one person is not a good player for another person, and they're not necessarily because one player is bad, like morally bad. They do things differently, and thus they have different outcomes for different people.
The now 27-member European Union, back to the AP here on Brexit, will have to bounce back from one of its biggest setbacks in its 62-year history to confront an even more complicated world as its former member becomes a competitor just across the English Channel. French President Emmanuel Macron called Brexit a, quote, historic alarm signal, unquote, that should force the EU to improve itself. He said in a televised address, "It's a sad day, let's not hide it, but it is a day that must also lead us to do things differently."
I think it's the beginning of the end for the EU.
You think so? You think
there's a lot of other people who want out, and
there's going to be another Brexit?
They can see that it's possible. Well, it won't be another Brexit because Brexit starts with BR for British.
Frexit.
But it might be a Frexit.
And I text it.
Dengsit, Finsit.
It's all so dumb. Anyway, he insisted that the European citizens need a united Europe more than ever to defend their interests in the face of China and the United States, to cope with climate change and migration and technological upheaval. So the suggestion here is that you need to have big to fight big. That you've got China, you've got the United States.
The bigger implication is that economics is war. And economics is not war. I don't fight China.
Right.
I buy things from China if I don't want to, and if I don't want to, I don't.
Your biggest underminer is the regulations, though. So it seems kind of humorous to say...
Who's biggest underminer?
Europe's.
Okay.
They're undermining their own... if you look at, for example, economic prosperity, coming from startups and things like that in the United States, well, part of that's because we have more freedoms in the United States, we have less regulation and so on. We don't see that in Europe. Europe is its own biggest underminer.
Yeah.
Well, by some measures, the Danish economy is freer than the U.S. economy. Interestingly enough, they have a larger welfare state, but they're not as regulated. Although I don't know how the EU plays into that statement.
In the many EU buildings in Brussels on Friday, British flags were quietly lowered, folded, and taken away. This is the first time a country has left the EU, and many in the bloc rued the day. EU Commission President lamented that, quote, as the sun rises tomorrow, a new chapter for our union of 27 will start. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Hey guys, it's Sue Cosner, your favorite sexual health expert, with another version of Ask the Pro. This month, I got a letter from Sandy in Seattle about an explosive bedroom secret she and her husband recently discovered. She writes, Dear Sue, my husband and I used to have a great life in the bedroom, but in the last few years, he has struggled. He's tried about everything, but nothing has worked. Then one day he came home and gave me a night I will never forget. He told me about this secret formula, Noxatril, that changed our life in the bedroom once and for all. Wow, Sandy, you beat me to it. I recommend Noxatril to every guy that struggles in the bedroom. It's the only one. Noxatril is all natural and works to increase blood flow fast. It's like that little blue pill on steroids. Noxatril has a special free bottle offer, shipped discreetly to your door.
To find out how to get your bottle of Noxatril, call 800-421-0954. 800-421-0954. Get your free bottle for a limited time. Call now. 800-421-0954. 800-421-0954.
When you have a pain in the neck, a real pain in the neck, back, shoulder, or legs, you now have two convenient choices to get fast relief without taking another pill. Because now, Sunny Bay heating wraps and pillows are available at both Amazon and Walmart. Yes, see Sunny Bay's 4.5 to 5-star customer reviews on Amazon.com or Walmart.com. Our made in the USA microwavable heat wraps, heatable neck pillows, and extra large body wraps are designed better for perfect support where and when you need it. Even while driving, Sunny Bay wraps will not burn and stay balanced to provide soothing hot or cold therapy to help treat temporary or chronic pain. And the best part? Sunny Bay quality products start at under $20. Join thousands of happy customers and see why Sunny Bay products have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy. It's easy. Click Amazon or Walmart and search today for Sunny Bay.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and we're talking about the good news. Brexit is finally a thing. They finally have taken the flags down from the European Union. This is the beginning of the end for Great Britain's involvement. There is going to be an 11-month-long transitionary period that will be happening. By the way, with you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
I want to say thanks to Christian Saucier, who is a Free Talk Live Platinum amplifier, longtime supporter of this program, and a big one. He's doing 5 times what we ask folks to do. We ask for $5 a month. He's doing 25. So thank you, Christian, for supporting what we do here, talking about the ideas of liberty and freedom and peace here every single night on Free Talk Live. So if you like what we do and you want to be part of the AMP program, as Christian is, you can do it for just $5 a month over at amp.freetalklive.com, and it adds up for us. It makes a big difference. It lets us get on more radio stations. And that reminds me, I do want to say welcome to our newest radio station affiliates out in, we're up to 204 stations now. This is welcoming 98.1 WTSN. It is on the FM dial at 98.1. In Dover, New Hampshire. That's what they call that's what they call their FM translator. It's actually originally an AM station, WTSN AM 1270 in Dover. So the AM station covers Portsmouth and Dover, so it's kind of like the seacoast, and then the FM station is only licensed for Dover itself. So I believe Dover is a college town, so there's probably maybe some younger people listening to Free Talk Live, and we are on every single night. I believe it is the first station that we've had in New Hampshire, which is where we're basing the show from. We're over in Keene, that we've ever had on the show. You know, we've had different stations in New Hampshire over the years, but none to take all 7 nights a week. They are not taking us live. It is delay broadcast by 3 hours, so you're hearing us a little bit later than we actually do the show if you're listening in Dover, in New Hampshire. 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., you get Free Talk Live every single night. So welcome aboard. If you are listening for the first time, you're probably noticing this is not your typical talk radio program. We are not your typical cookie cutter conservative or leftist show. It is open phones every single night. So if you would like to participate, since you're listening in delay broadcast, you have to call us when we're live. We're live from 7 to 10 at night Eastern time. So, and this applies to anybody listening. Feel free, pick up the phone, whether you're on the podcast or you're listening later somehow on another radio station. You're always welcome to call, even if you're not listening live. Because if you got something to say, this is the place where you get to say it to a national audience on the radio. And of course, we're streaming online as well. So welcome aboard, WTSN listeners out there on the seacoast of New Hampshire. Again, the toll-free number here, if you want to join us, 855-450-FREE. We're talking about the good news for the folks in Great Britain with Brexit happening now. It has begun. The European Union's President Ursula von der Leyen said that Brexit would mark a major loss for the UK, according to the Associated Press, but said the island nation was heading for a lonelier existence. She said, quote, she said, strength does not lie in splendid isolation, but in our unique union, she said. So she's saying they're weaker now because of this.
That and ignorance. Ignorance is strength. That's what they said in 1984.
So, I mean, the crazy thing is that the UK does have an opportunity to garner stronger ties with the United States and other countries being outside of the European Union potentially. So, I don't know. To say that just because they're not part of the European Union anymore, called me a little skeptical.
Yeah, I'm absolutely skeptical of that. I mean, that's what every cult's going to tell you is, oh, you can't leave the cult. You'll be all alone out there. And then, of course, the cult turns you out and they never talk to you again, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that the UK should be focused on is, keeping themselves within probably the customs union. Not that I'm a fan of that, but from one perspective, because it does.
I mean, it might not even be worth the rules.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good question. Effectively, I feel like the biggest problem is not so much. By not being as part of the custom union and not having that free trade, it ends up causing delays between the time in which you ship a product and the product gets delivered. And mostly this is going to affect smaller businesses, not larger ones. So, yeah.
Johnson, who is the prime minister over in the UK, said that post-Brexit Britain would, quote, be simultaneously a great European power and truly global in our range and ambitions. He said further, we want this to be the beginning of a new era of friendly cooperation between the EU and an energetic Britain, unquote. And he did say this in a pre-recorded address to the country that was broadcast just 1 hour before Britain's official exit. In a break with usual practice, however, independent media outlets were not allowed to film Johnson's speech, which the government recorded Thursday at 10 Downing Street. He won an election victory in December with a dual promise to, quote, get Brexit done, unquote, which apparently he did, and deliver improved jobs, infrastructure, and services for Britain's most deprived areas, where support for leaving the EU is the strongest. On Friday, he symbolically held a cabinet meeting in a pro-Brexit town of Sunderland in northeast England rather than London. Johnson is a Brexit enthusiast, but he knows many Britons aren't, and his Conservative government sought to mark the moment with quiet dignity. Red, white, and blue lights illuminated government buildings, and a countdown clock projected onto the Prime Minister's Downing Street residence. There was no such restraint in nearby Parliament Square, where arch-Brexiteer Nigel Farage gathered a crowd of several thousand who belted out a patriotic song of Land of Hope and Glory as they waited for the moment that even Farage sometimes doubted would ever come. He told the crowd, quote, this is the single most important moment in the modern history of our great nation. The war is over. We have won. He often describes Britain's relationship with Europe in martial terms. Londoner Donna Jones said she'd come to, quote, be a part of history. She said it doesn't mean we're anti-Europe. It just means we want to be self-sufficient in a certain way. And that's true. If New Hampshire were to leave, or when New Hampshire leaves the United States, it doesn't mean we're against Vermont or against, the people in Florida or whatever. It's just we just want to have more freedom. What's wrong with that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want anybody to rule me, but that doesn't mean I'm against them. I just don't want anybody to.
Yeah, and if you want to be ruled, then by all means, you should have whoever it is that you want to tell you what to do, tell you what to do. Go for it.
Hire Mistress Spanks-a-lot. She does a good job of that.
Or Trump, or whoever.
The crazy thing is, even in a free society, you can have somebody rule you, and I'll put that in quotes.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing stops
you. Can pay him to.
Right. Nothing stops you from contributing to some sort of socialist fund or, whatever it is that you want.
Well, that's mutual aid. There's nothing wrong with mutual aid.
And I don't even object to that. Like, I might want to participate in something like that myself, but I don't want it to be forced on me, and that's the difference.
Some Britons were in mourning about their freedom that being in the European bloc to allow them to live anywhere across the 28 countries. Anne Jones, who joined dozens of other Remainers on a march to the EU's mission in London, said, quote, many of us just want to mark our sadness in public, and we don't want trouble. We just want to say, well, we didn't want this. Which, that's a fairly mature way of handling it rather than screaming at the top of her lungs.
Are people being kicked out of the European Union who are UK citizens now and vice versa?
That's not clear. That's a good question.
Not for another 11 months.
But then they will be?
At least. That what they're going to do in the future, I mean, the EU would have to make the decision to expel them. So, that would be a separate decision. They don't have to make that decision.
That's true. Well, right. And if they do expel them, then that may sour some of these folks on their love for the EU.
And it's interesting because a lot of people in the UK have bought property in the European Union. So, yikes.
Yeah. Well, there's never been a lot of difficulty traveling between, say, England and France, except when they've been at war.
Well, okay, but so let's say...
Which was hundreds of years ago.
The EU decides it wants to extend some sort of an olive branch to these people who wanted to remain in the EU and say, hey, look, you came here, you want to stay here? Here's what you got to do. You just got to become a citizen of the EU or a citizen of France or wherever it is that they're staying. Or they kick them all out, and then they give these people a reason to change their minds and decide they didn't like the EU after all.
Or they could go the second route, which is to say you can either retain your EU citizenship or retain your UK citizenship.
That actually probably makes a lot more sense,
which means they may not
kick people out, just to let them stay, assuming they become an EU citizen. But I don't know, it's kind of an interesting thing because it's I mean, so the reason the UK is basically wanting out, or seems to be some people in the UK want out, is because they don't like all of the foreigners moving in. So I don't know if there's the same kind of anger about people from the UK moving in, because they usually bring with them money and they buy houses and property and resources.
Well, I think they're more concerned about the things like the wave of rape that has been going on in some of the Scandinavian countries.
All right, there's more to go here on Brexit. Your calls and thoughts also welcome. You can join us, share your thoughts on secession in general. 855-450 free. You may take control of the airwaves. Hour number 3 is coming up. 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you wish you could do whatever you wanted in your dating and relationship life, even if you're married? Do you wish you made more money on less hours? I'm Caleb Jones, and I've taught hundreds of thousands of men how to create low-work, high-income businesses and how to date women under your terms. Watch our free on-demand replay training with me so you can learn how to create location-independent income and date women the way you want. Go to alpha.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live is now on more than 200 radio stations nationwide. We've had more than 18 million podcast downloads, and we claim millions of listens a month. We're a multimedia ad venue with print, email, web, and terrestrial radio marketing platforms. We strive to have ad packages that cater to advertisers big and small. Contact me today at marketfreetalklive.com to see what we can do for you. Marketfreetalklive.com. If you're a local advertiser, contact this station. But if you can service a national audience, contact me, marketfreetalklive.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with the SNLS Network and listeners like you. Online at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,574, silver at $17.84, and Bitcoin is trading around $9,538. Today's gold, silver, and Bitcoin prices are brought to you by Brave Botanicals. High-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven. The Liberty Beat and Brave Botanicals believe so strongly in the power of kratom, we're giving it away for free. Just go to libertybeat.news/free kratom. This is the Liberty Beat at snlsnetwork.com. In the news, President Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, on Thursday, suggested the deadly coronavirus that has sparked fears of a global pandemic could have a bright side, at least for the United States. More jobs.
So I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America, some to U.S., probably some to Mexico as well.
The coronavirus has killed at least 170 people in China and has infected nearly 8,000 more as the Chinese government and other nations have worked to contain the outbreak with travel bans and restrictions. Ross's rosy assessment of potential U.S. economic gains from the virus was immediately denounced as grossly callous. Ever wonder where we find all the news to report right here on the Liberty Beat? Visit snls.news to get the world's most censored media published all in one place. Save yourself from the endless time spent searching for reliable alternative media. SNLS News makes it quick and easy. No ads, no clickbait, just raw headlines, 24 hours a day. Visit snls.news and get informed today without the corporate media spin. Your news now continues. Recent reports indicate that data gathered by automakers and tech companies could be the next front in the battle over digital privacy. Activist Post reports that in early January, companies at the CES 2020 displayed their plans for making use of the surprising amounts of data gathered by newer model vehicles. Amazon, Intel, Qualcomm, and BlackBerry were among the companies seeking partnerships with automakers who are also searching for methods to monetize the data gathered by their vehicles. Bloomberg reports that modern cars roll out of factories packed with cellular connections, powerful processors, and a growing suite of sensors, including cameras, radar, and microphones. That's turning them into the next information goldmine, rivaling the data-creating capabilities of smartphones. Bloomberg also notes that Intel announced a new stage of its Mobileye technology, which allows for driver assistance and Intel to gather data from cameras, chips, and sensors within the vehicle. Manhattan-based Clearview AI is collecting data from unsuspecting social media users, and the Chicago Police Department is using the controversial facial recognition tool to pinpoint the identity of unknown suspects. That's according to a report from the Chicago Times. And according to a bombshell New York Times report, it's also being used by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. Activist Post reports the software's creator maintains that it's purely an after-the-fact research tool for law enforcement, not a surveillance system or a consumer application. However, privacy advocates are saying the technology is so intrusive and ripe for abuse, its use should be immediately halted. And earlier this month, a lawsuit was filed in federal court seeking to do just that. Chicago attorney Scott Drury, who filed the lawsuit, describes CPD's signing of a 2-year, $49,875 contract with Illinois tech firm CDW Government to use Clearview AI software as frightening. Support for the Liberty Beat is brought to you by the Homestead Guru. The Homestead Guru is an educational website offering tips, tools, news, stories, and commentary on everything homesteading. Topics include green homes, gardening, animal husbandry, do-it-yourself, home remedies, alternative energy, survivalism, unschooling, and more. Those details are found online at thehomestead.guru. This is the Liberty Beat, powered by the SNLS Network at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Later in the hour, the U.S. Postal Service announces that you can deliver the mail yourself if you think it's so come easy. But first up in health news, researchers from Harvard University have found a strong link between male virility and wearing Motley Crue denim jackets. For the study, researchers paired fans of the band with a control group and found that those wearing Motley Crue attire were far more likely to knock out some chick's totally jacked boyfriend and then do it with her later that same day than those who simply wore casual clothes and probably wouldn't know what it feels like to have 2 threesomes in one night.
Men who own jackets with an image of Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx sitting on top of a pair of breasts with nipples in the shape of pentagrams showed higher levels of sexual potency, endurance, and libido. These guys do it all the time, and sometimes even in public. They don't care.
Although the study primarily focused on men in Motley Crue jackets, researchers also found that men who listened to Nirvana had a high likelihood of staying virgins forever.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want here. We've been covering secession. Not that we were planning on it, but it came up, and I actually had Brexit in my show
It's
prep.
one of my relationship goals, but not immediately.
Yeah. Well, I want to see it happen as soon as possible, and I think the more that we can talk about it, the more the more real it becomes. If nobody talks about secession, and I don't mean you, nobody, but you are here.
Right.
But if people do not discuss the issue of secession, then it will not ever happen. It has to be talked about.
Wasn't secession, wasn't that something that was initially part of the, I don't want to say part of, but the big motivator for a lot of people when it came to the Free State Project and organizing it?
Certainly there are people who said maybe we could secede, and things were discussed, like when we were choosing a state to go to. There were people who commented on, well, we do have an exterior border with Canada if the United States decides they don't want to trade with us anymore.
There's also a port. There's a port, Portsmouth. So
you've got 2 international boundaries there.
Right.
It was definitely something I thought about before, going up.
I thought there were a lot of people talking about it originally, and I wasn't part of this discussion. So,
well, the founder of the Free State Project, Jason Sorens, is not unfamiliar with or unfriendly to. He's a supporter of the idea of it. He's just not ready to talk about it publicly. At least the last time I heard him talking about this, which was a few years ago at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, where he addressed it, I believe, at an on-stage kind of appearance.
I was under the impression that it actually is one of the things that drew a lot of people to the idea of
I think it's always been a
project.
split. I think there's always been the schism within the Liberty community up here about that. Many of whom just don't, they feel like it's too fringe. And that was part of the issue at, according to the AP, we've been sharing the story about Brexit leaving, or excuse me, Britain leaving, the Brexit, Britain leaving the European Union. It became official finally after 3 years of just brutal politicization of the issue. They finally have done it. The flags are have been removed from the European Union headquarters in Brussels. And according to the story of the AP, the UK was never a wholehearted EU member, but actually leaving the bloc was long considered a fringe idea. It gradually gained strength within the Conservative Party, which has a wing of fierce Eurosceptics, opponents of EU membership. Former Prime Minister David Cameron eventually agreed to hold a referendum, saying he wanted to settle the issue once and for all. So again, it was an obscure fringe idea initially, but enough people picked up the idea and they talked about it and they overcame objections and they got to 52%.
There's some interesting tidbits that people outside of Europe and outside of the UK may not be aware of. When they say that the UK was never really a full member or not fully
wholehearted,
So there's some truth to this. So for example, there are some things that probably would not be true if they ever rejoined.
Well, the British pound still exists for one.
Right, exactly. Not only does the British pound still exist, but if you try to spend euros, even though they're technically valid in the UK, you're probably going to have trouble. So that's just demonstrate how, and part of the whole idea of the European Union is a monetary currency, a single monetary currency, and yet the British never even though they were even though they were, I believe, what was considered, or what they call a full member, they still didn't have. They had a lot of exceptions to what a member meant or what you had to do to be a member, and the membership requirements keep on increasing. So if they were to rejoin at some future date, they would have to do things like implement, the euro. They wouldn't be able to opt out or, do anything of that nature, or delay opting in if they were trying to join again.
Nigel Farage in a speech said, "We are never, ever coming back."
All right. Good.
Of course, he's just one man. Anything could change.
And it's he's probably not wrong, because if they were to join or try to come back,
the rules would be different.
The rules would be different than when they originally joined.
More stringent.
There's many more rules, and it would be much more stringent as far as what they would be, required to do.
So it hasn't worked out that way, though, according to the AP. Since the 2016 vote, the UK has held fractious negotiations with the EU that finally, late last year, secured a deal on the divorce terms. But Britain is leaving the bloc.
Fractious negotiations of the fracture?
Indeed. Arguably as divided as it was on referendum day. By and large, Britain's big cities voted to stay in the EU, while small towns voted to leave. England and Wales backed the Brexit, while Northern Ireland and Scotland voted to remain. Candlelight vigils were held in several Scottish cities. Government buildings in Edinburgh were lit up in the EU's blue and yellow colours, and the bloc's flag continued to fly outside of Scottish Parliament. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said Brexit was, quote, a moment of profound sadness. Now, didn't Scotland try to exit the EU prior to Brexit happening?
Scotland, I think, doesn't like the whole exiting of the EU. They want to remain part of the EU.
But they also wanted to exit the UK, did they not?
In order to join the EU, because they do not like, it's not in the EU, it's not in the Scottish interests, effectively, to leave the EU, whereas it is in, at least in Britain, it is in the, well, maybe it's not, but some people believe it's in the British interests.
I don't remember. Didn't they hold a vote and it didn't pass in
Scotland?
They voted on seceding from something, but I don't know if it was the UK or the EU. I think it must have been the UK.
It would have been the UK, not the EU,
and
because
that
they
would
want
be
to be part of the
if they
EU,
want to do that,
Well, because they've always
I
been
think
the bitch.
They'd be foolish.
Well, I mean, they've always been
sure.
the bitch of the UK, right?
Well, when the UK wasn't picking on the Irish.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly of Britain, I think, certainly.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Britain, alternately will beat the hell out of the Scottish and the Irish. They've been doing that for centuries.
Yep.
Scotland to decide on secession from the United Kingdom. Yeah, that's definitely I don't remember what the 2014. So it was a couple years before the 2016 Brexit vote where they did look at that question. Yeah. So
I would support their doing that too.
Me too.
I would love to see Ireland out of the UK. Maybe they'd have a chance at working out their internal problems if they got out of the UK.
Here's the thing. Even though this Johnson character, this prime minister who's all in favor of Brexit, seems to be, pro-secession, well, guess what? He doesn't want to let the Scottish have their own secession movement out of the UK.
Not, right?
So, well, that's the problem, is politicians aren't principled. They don't realize that what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yep. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said Brexit was, quote, a moment of profound sadness. She said in a speech in Edinburgh, here in Scotland, given that it's happening against the will of the vast majority of us, that sadness will be tinged with anger, unquote. Scottish National Party government is demanding the right to hold a referendum on independence from the UK, something that Johnson refuses to grant. So they have to beg the UK Parliament to let them have a vote
on it.
Yeah,
it's something more like effectively the British effectively owns Scotland or something like that, and unlike whereas the agreement between the UK and the European Union never owned
it's more independent.
the UK, and therefore that's how they can get away with it.
London, which is home to more than 1 million EU citizens, also voted by a wide margin to stay in the bloc. Mayor of London said he was heartbroken about Brexit, but insisted London would remain that welcomed all, regardless of, quote, the color of your skin, the color of your flag, the color of your passport, unquote. Negotiations between Britain and the EU on their new relationship are due to start in earnest in March, and early signs are not encouraging. The EU is saying Britain cannot have full access to the EU's single market unless it follows the bloc's rules, but Britain insists it will not agree to follow an EU rulebook in return for unfettered trade. With Johnson adamant that he won't extend the transition period beyond December 31st, months of uncertainty and acrimony lie ahead.
But that actually illustrates the change. I mean, basically, when the UK was part of the EU, if the EU tried to impose rules on some random country and said, you can't trade with us if you don't follow these rules, they wouldn't have been able to trade with the UK either.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can.
In English port of
they
Dover,
have access to anybody who's in a similar position.
A retiree in Dover in the UK said he thinks it's all going to be worth it. He said, quote, my expectation is there may be a little bump or two in the road, but in the end, it will even out. Somebody once said, short-term pain, but long-term gain. And that's the story on the exit from the European Union of Great Britain. Is it going to be the first of many? That's what nobody has predicted here on the show tonight. If so, what's the next domino to fall?
Nobody's saying that.
There's more coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
Have you heard of LibertyCon? LibertyCon is not only a convention with great speakers like Whole Foods CEO and co-founder John Mackey and Nobel Prize winner Vernon Smith, but it's also unique because you get a chance to network with more than 70 pro-liberty organizations, one-on-one for the purpose of career advancement, business, and internship opportunities. April 3rd through 5th in Washington, D.C. You can learn more by visiting LibertyCon.com and use code FTL for a $10 discount on your registration. That's LibertyCon.com.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help. Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite. Pick up 2 bottles of Lico Chops, get the 3rd bottle free. New improved Lico Chops with omega-6, omega-3, vitamin E, and now 6 extra direct-fed microbials. Even better for the digestive tract and immune system. And dogs love it. Try Lico Chops. Buy 2, get 1 free. This is Henry Lukasevic for Dynavite.
DINOVITE.com.
The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org.
I want to tell you about my favorite cryptocurrency wallet, Edge Wallet, at edge.app. Edge is the wallet I use more than any other, and that was true long before Edge Wallet became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. Edge Wallet allows you to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and more. It's available for both Android and iOS, and you can download it via the Play or App Store or via Edge Wallet's website, edge.app. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet.
They started with Google Glass, and now the engineers behind Google have created a new body part to strap gadgets onto. They're calling it the flange, and the new synthetic skin appendage fits between the shoulder blades into a flat surface capable of holding a wide array of new gadgets for Google to hawk to consumers. While unveiling the innovation today, Google CEO Larry Page said, quote, "The possibilities for the number of completely pointless gadgets to strap, bind, and stick to your body are now endless." Early adopters are already raving about the synthetic body part.
It overheats and burns my skin pretty bad when I have it on, but I'm really getting to like it.
I'm actually thinking of getting a second one installed.
Critics are cautioning the tech world to not hail the flange as an achievement yet, since several users have reported problems with the device permanently grafting to their spinal column if worn overnight. Coming up next, Doritos unveils new e-Doritos that come in JPEG form whenever you're hungry.
This is the Onion News Network.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm, and that's where you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners around the clock. There's always somebody in there hanging out, talking about stuff, various different chat rooms and such that you can get involved in. It's all free over at discord.lrn.fm. But there's also those on-air call-in line rooms that you can use during the show to get on the air with us. Plus, want to make sure you know about the Edge wallet. It is a great cryptocurrency wallet. It's the one that I use more often than any other in real life here in the crypto mecca in New Hampshire to buy things. I was just out today. I actually had bought my breakfast with the Edge wallet. It's got support for a bunch of different cryptocurrencies like, of course, the original Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Stellar, and others, even Ravencoin now over at Edge Wallet. You can secure your freedom with Edge Wallet on iOS or Android devices, buy, sell, trade, and securely hold cryptocurrencies. You control your money there with Edge. They don't have control over it. It's just you. They've got a veteran team that's been building wallets since 2014. Over at edge.app to learn more about the technology behind Edge. That's EDGE edge.app for their website, or just go to your Google or your Google or Apple app stores and download Edge Wallet. Let's go to David. He's in New Mexico. You can bring up what you want. We've had a lot of Brexit talk here tonight, but there's other stuff to talk about. We can talk about banning encryption to come back around to the original story that we opened the show with.
That's not what they're talking about doing.
Not quite, but they want to. That's what they want to do.
Well, I'm sure they want to, but that's not the proposal.
Let's go to David in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, David.
Yes, secession, one piece at a time is a good way to go about it, as I see it. You've kind of, actually things you've said are examples, without giving you an example of what you said, things you have said this evening are examples of secession one piece at a time until they can't, the government can't deal with all of the little succession fires going on in every different way at one time, and they basically fail, and we do what we want to do, which is the right thing to do. And one example of that, today there was a Second Amendment rally at the Capitol in Santa Fe in New Mexico, like the one they had in Virginia. Not as many people. There was about 500, because New Mexico is a less densely populated area, obviously, and so you're not going to get 20,000. But they did get 500, and it was pretty interesting because as I'd said before, there were the sheriffs. 30 out of 32 sheriffs in the state of New Mexico said that they support not enforcing red flag laws, and there's a bill that every year there's a bill, but this year there's another bill trying to implement red flag laws. And so this rally was to
when your government starts passing red flag laws, that's a red flag. It's time to take their guns.
Exactly.
I like it.
So this, I'm looking at the best example if anybody wanted to view it, because it's interesting to watch. It's if you look at a rally, anti-red flag law rally or pro-gun rally, and there are the main speakers at the rally are several different sheriffs from throughout the state. It gives you a feeling of confidence that you can actually pull it off, meaning protecting your rights when the sheriffs themselves are going against their own legislature.
Has there been any counter threats against them? I know that in Virginia there was talk about the sheriffs being targeted by the state government, somehow like demoting them or whatever.
Interesting you bring that up because the governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, who was a U.S. rep before she was our governor, she's got the support of the chief of police Johnson of the New Mexico State Police, indicating that they will go along with this stuff, whereas the sheriffs won't. And she has said, I don't remember her exact words, but she did make statements saying that that the law enforcement that will not enforce the laws, blah blah blah, something like that. I'd have to search it to see exactly what she said, but she did make a statement against them. But that's not stopping them at all. It's not bothering them at all. They know they're on the right side. But an interesting visual of this, if anybody wanted to look at it, the best one I found was a Facebook Live by the way you search it easily is Brett, and then his name is Coconatus for Congress, but Brett KOK on Facebook search window should get you his page, which 8 hours ago has the live Second Amendment rally, and it's pretty heartening to watch it, and I think it's a good example of secession, one piece at a time.
Well, that would be an internal nullification within a state, and that's also a good thing. And thank you, David, for the call and sharing that with us.
There's also talk on the secession issue. The governor of West Virginia has invited counties to secede from Virginia
into West
and
Virginia.
Join West Virginia.
Like in the old days.
Which it might be an improvement, but more importantly, it brings up this idea that borders are not steel.
They're fluid.
Borders change all the time. Borders are just where two gangs of criminals got tired of fighting.
Yeah,
now,
that's true.
It's interesting because I think in order to change the states, at least at the federal level, you have to get approval from the
federal
government.
Yeah.
But nothing stops them necessarily from saying, one state from necessarily saying, okay, at the state level, we don't consider this to be part of our territory anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And another state from saying, okay, well, we consider this to be part of our territory now.
Yeah, why should it?
So, it
doesn't create a new state. It just
at the federal level,
negotiating.
A part of the state. Okay, the old state would still be considered part of that state, but as far as the state government is concerned, it's not.
I wonder about that. I mean, how does the federal government
for
define
example, their votes would be counted in federal elections as being in the state they left, not the state they joined.
So the federal government.
I don't think that would be a stable situation.
Hold on. That's not
think
true.
Sooner or later, the states
true.
and the feds will agree on which territory.
I don't think that would be true because the elections are based. The states hold their own elections. So,
you're right.
I think
you're right.
I think the state, effectively that part of the other state joins would consider it their state as far as voting is concerned.
Yeah, I wonder about how the federal government defines each state. Does it leave the states to define themselves? Meaning, we have it from this longitude and this latitude and whatever, or could they grab a town or two or a county or two and say this is now our state, and the feds would acknowledge it?
So I think as far as how many reps, I think it's kind of set in stone based on you wouldn't end up because
that's based on population.
But what about the map?
No, it's not based on population.
Where is the geography?
What the population was?
Hold on, guys. Please don't talk over each other.
Sorry.
One can go.
Go ahead.
The question is, where is the geography of that recorded? And I don't know, but it must be done because the U.S. has added territory. Somebody's drawing those lines on maps.
Well, I think it's the federal government.
That's what I would think. So
toll-free number tonight, if you want to join us here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we can talk about encryption. We can discuss 3D guns. There's just a lot on the table. Not a whole lot of time, but we got enough time for you if you want to jump on here. 855-450-FREE like freedom. This is Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Gold has definitely been on the move recently, and there is no more secure investment historically. McIlvaney ICA has been helping people take delivery of precious metals and find storage options for decades. They've helped thousands of investors with their precious metal IRAs. Call ICA today for your free portfolio review at 800-525-9556 or download their free report online at ICAGoldSilver.com to learn how you can double your gold and silver ounces even within an IRA. 800-525-9556. ICAGoldSilver.com.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial in toll free, bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. Like freedom coming up this summer. And that's coming sooner than you probably figure it's going to, because time flies here. We're already done with January. Planned for June 29th until July 5th, Fork Fest. It's in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire at Rogers Campground, which is the largest campground in New Hampshire. There's plenty of room for a massive camping festival. Fork Fest is not massive yet, but in 2019, it was bigger than it's ever been, and it was larger than I expected that it would be. Now, there's no organizer of Fork Fest. Fork Fest is a decentralized libertarian camping festival. There's no tickets.
There's no bureaucracy. There's no board of directors. It's just a bunch of liberty-minded folks coming up to the same campground for the same time frame, and whatever happens there happens. You want to put something together.
It's like anarchy.
Not quite, but, it's pretty fun because there's still park rules. There's still... you can't run around the pool, right? Like, there's still a few rules.
There would probably still be park rules if there was no government, though.
Indeed.
I do have to say, it seems like the park rules get violated left and right, and nobody does anything about it.
They're loosely enforced. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There aren't that many rules, though, in the first place in that park.
They're
pretty laid back. So it's a great location, and it's a great place to celebrate Independence Day, because Forkfest this year is moving to after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. So first you have a kind of more organized thing that you got to pay tickets for, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and then after that, Forkfest, it opens up. Anybody can come out. There's no ticket price. You want to vend stuff? Go right ahead. Set up and vend. You want to make food for people? Do it. You want to hold a poker game? You want to put on a musical show? Whatever it is you want to do, have a good time and invite people to participate because it's fun. Go to forkfest.party, and again, mark your calendar, June 29th until July 5th, and join us in Rogers Campground. Forkfest.party. Free Talk Live will be there. We'll be broadcasting from the event. Speaking of broadcasting, there's terrible news in the broadcasting industry we can talk about, but briefly, I wanted to recap for listeners that may be just tuning in. There was a disturbing story, and apparently we did get through the bulk of the piece, and I got the important points out, but I kind of want to recap it here, Chris. There's a proposal from some legislator in D.C. to pass a law that would create a working group of bureaucrats who come up with rules for corporations that provide internet services like Facebook or Telegram or whatever to follow these so-called best practices, which include not encrypting their users' contents.
It would limit effectively what they're trying to do is limit companies from implementing end-to-end encryption, which basically means that the company itself cannot see what your messages are. Whereas if they're using other forms of encryption that are not end-to-end, then they can do things like detect, activities that the government doesn't like, whether it's drug sales or child porn or terrorism, and I put that in quotes.
Are they requiring that these companies monitor for these things, though?
Yes, they would eliminate a liability for them if they did not detect like child porn at a minimum. Now, other stuff may be added later, but their initial argument is child porn.
So the idea is that they wouldn't be protected by the current protections under, what was it, Communications Decency Act, I think, that allows companies to have an exemption from liability for the actions of their users on their platforms.
Yeah, effectively now, if a company, if something like child porn is reported to a company, they have to remove it, obviously.
Sure.
But this basically says that it doesn't matter if you remove it; you're still guilty of it. And you'll be civilly and criminally liable. Right.
If they don't follow the so-called best practices.
Right. Exactly.
So they're going to scare these companies into compliance. Basically, they're not outlawing encryption. They're just basically making it so corporations don't play ball with encryption.
Yeah, well, they're outlawing certain kinds of use of encryption by certain kinds of companies.
So they haven't made the rule that says no end-to-end encryption yet, because that's the point of this.
Yeah,
right.
that's the point of this.
So yeah, technically we can't tell you that's what they're doing, but that is what they've said they're doing.
What they want to do.
Yeah, it's like
we know that's what they want to do.
ignoring the politicians that are saying this is why we want it.
Well, and
but we're not going to set the rules yet.
You could argue that this is fair for them to do because all they're doing is regulating the things that they created in the first place. And what I mean by that is corporations. It's not to say that well, that's what a corporation is, right? It's a file folder with papers in it that the government gang issues.
The government is the mother of all corporations.
They are a corporation themselves, and yes, they do create corporations.
Yeah. So the problem is they'll penalize you.
And they're the biggest, most destructive corporation in the world.
Right.
I don't entirely disagree with you guys. I just think if you don't do certain things, though, they will penalize you for it. So
I mean, if you don't form a corporation or something like that.
Right. So like there's different tax situations, and there's all sorts of different scenarios, and and it's not even necessarily.
Oh yeah, you pretty much have to be a corporation in order to do business in the United States.
As you grow, absolutely. If you don't, I don't even know how you would operate otherwise.
So they've got these people, pretty tight situation if this thing passes.
Mm-hmm.
And, would there be a free speech lawsuit against this? Well, probably the argument is this isn't a restriction on free speech. You can still say the things you want to say. You just aren't allowed to put this particular technology into play.
So the argument here really is what a company, a company's right to free speech, right? It's not so much the user's right to free speech, but it would have an undue restriction on an end user's right to free speech too, I think.
Well,
I think so.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not sure how to respond to that, but I'm not sure I entirely agree with it.
It's going to.
Okay, well, I don't know. That's all I had to say about it. So if you want to respond,
it's going to stop these companies from assisting users with encryption, right? Because that's what we're talking about. If, for instance, and I wouldn't use Facebook's Messenger platform. I'm not on Facebook. But
I understand. But
this is one of those
WhatsApp's
systems,
probably a better example.
WhatsApp, where they claim it's encrypted. They would then have to say
encrypted. Yeah.
They would then have, and again, you have to take their word for it, which I wouldn't because it's Facebook.
Right.
But
it's proprietary. Yeah.
But they say, okay, WhatsApp's encrypted. Now they're going to have to, if this goes through, they're going to say, oh, well, no longer is WhatsApp encrypted. Sorry. So therefore, if you wanted to send an encrypted message, you would have to encrypt it yourself, send it over WhatsApp, and then it would have to be decrypted on the other end manually by the other person or by some sort of alternative program that you'd be running on.
What's likely is they're going to be more insidious than that, which is they're going to say it's still encrypted, but it's going to be encrypted with a protocol that has a backdoor in it.
Right, so it's useless.
So that, it's useless if you run afoul of the wrong people. It'll still keep your wife from sniffing the traffic over your router.
Yeah. Effectively, it makes a company liable. I think ultimately what it's doing is it's making a company liable if they don't follow these best practices.
Which have yet to be
we don't know what the best practices are.
The best practices are going to be no end-to-end encryption.
That's what it'll be. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So have they said that, or is that just
that is
guess?
what they've been quoted. It's not in this. I don't see it in this particular story, but that's what they've been quoted.
I haven't heard
as.
any direct quotes that involved encryption.
So I can.
Well, that'll be it because otherwise you
support.
Terrorism and child pornography.
Right. Yeah. So,
according to them.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't agree with Greta, you hate children.
Yeah. So let me continue reading a little bit more of the story because it doesn't quite go that far in this particular story, but it does go farther, and you'll see a little bit more what they're saying. U.S. Attorney General William Barr has condemned the move, saying it would prevent law enforcement. This is at the end-to-end encryption he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Law enforcement from finding criminals, but Facebook isn't required to comply. Under the Earn It Act, though, a committee could require Facebook and other companies to add a backdoor for law enforcement. So even here, they're talking about it being a backdoor.
This is bad news.
Yes.
This is very bad.
Rena Peffercorn, a member of the Stanford Law School Center for Internet Society, wrote a detailed critique of the draft. She points out that the committee would have little oversight and that Attorney General could also unilaterally modify the rules. So it's
great.
I mean, it's basically like saying the government can do whatever it wants. The government when they want to come after you, they can do whatever they want. The Justice Department has pushed encryption backdoors for years, citing threats like terrorism, but they haven't gotten legal traction. Now, encryption opponents are riding the coattails of the backlash against big tech platforms and fears about child exploitation online. TechDirt founder Mike.
See, you hate children if you favor encryption.
It's absolutely absurd. We're all using encryption. This is the crazy thing, and yet they're acting as if only pedophiles use encryption. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Hey, we got more coming up here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Thanks for bringing that to the store to the table here, and let's make sure it gets shared on our Free Talk Live social medias, if you don't mind. So if you want to tune into our social media platforms, we're on Mastodon, decentralized social media, over at toot.freetalklive.com, T-O-O-T, toot.freetalklive.com. Also, twitter.freetalklive.com and telegram.freetalklive.com. We got more coming up in moments. Free Talk Live.
Most of you know that heart disease is the #1 silent killer in the U.S. What if I told you for just $54.95 a month you could fight against heart disease naturally? At Heart and Body Extract, we've been helping thousands of people get back to a healthier heart. Don't just take my word for it. Check out all of the success stories at hbextract.com, or to order, call 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. hbextract.com. Don't risk it when you can take charge of it.
Would you like to get back that full head of hair from years past? Introducing Reveal from GCNLife.com. Beverly Hills dermatologist Dr. Nathan Newman invented Reveal, which contains polypeptides with natural botanicals and no parabens, sulfates, silicones, or dyes for a salon-quality hair growth product. Reveal. Here's Dr. Newman.
I've treated a lot of patients who lose their hair and they lose their confidence. We've created a unique set of polypeptides, which we call HPT6. The HPT6 contains the polypeptides from 6 different plants. The scalp infusion treatment should be used on wet or dry scalp. The Reveal hair care system is designed to be used for men and women alike.
Get Reveal at GCNLife.com with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So try Reveal today at GCNLife.com or 844-443-6637. Plus a discount up to 25% off for Reveal at GCNLife.com or 844-443-6637.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here on the radio. Our toll-free number, 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
Hey, I want to say thanks to Chris R., who is a Free Talk Live amplifier. That's somebody who supports the AMP program over at amp.freetalklive.com. It's ampamp.freetalklive.com. You can do it with Bitcoin, BTC. You can do PayPal. You can do credit card. And your $5 a month helps us get on more radio stations. We've got over 200 stations now. Thanks to listeners like you getting behind what we do here. And it's helpful for us to be on new radio stations because, look, the ideas of freedom just are not out there. I'm sorry. I wish that we had competition. I wish that there were some really great shows that were better than we are because, you know, I don't think we're the best show in the world, but we're the only libertarian show with any real principles. And we've managed to cobble together over 200 radio stations over the last almost 2 decades that we've been in operation here. We started in 2002. And so it's great that we're here. I'm glad that we're here, and we're here because of listeners like you becoming amplifiers. So please, if you want us to get on to 300 stations, which is doable, then you can help us by joining the AMP program. You'll get some cool benefits, some perks. You get access to the supporters chat rooms on our Discord. We've got a AMP-only Facebook group and more. Please go to amp.freetalklive.com, like Chris R., and you can help us AMP Free Talk Live. Get on more stations. We just announced WTSN and its FM translator out in the seacoast of New Hampshire tonight. And the fact is, the radio business is a tough business. It's a business that has suffered from consolidation over the years. What happened was the government in the 1990s, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, did what they called deregulation. And I'm putting that in quotes, air quotes here. Deregulation, where they allowed companies to own an unlimited number of radio stations. Well, I mean, within however many are licensed, right? But there used to be very strict limits on you couldn't own more than 2 or 3 or something like that. There was some arbitrary number that they came up with. And in the mid-90s, they got rid of that, and they made it so you could just gobble up as many as you could afford to buy that were out there. And so that's what created these behemoths like Cumulus, or what was then known as Clear Channel, which is now called iHeartMedia, where these big companies just started buying up stations in the late 90s as soon as they could, and they collected, more than 1,000 radio stations and became...
No more local radio.
Well, there's more to it, though, because the FCC also will show up with guns and stop anybody else from broadcasting.
Right, that's why I put it in. That's why I put deregulation in quotes, because it still kept the good old boy network together of everybody who was on the in crowd of having a license. But those were you could not, outside of having a license, operate a station. So there's no freedom to broadcast in the United States. There's no free speech on the airwaves.
Although it is guaranteed by the First Amendment. Right. I really hope somebody
challenges that someday.
Yeah, we need some challenges on that issue.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. So what they did was they took a controlled marketplace, which is this highly regulated business of radio, where everybody knows everybody else. All the program directors, shuffle around from one city to the next, from one company to the next, and then they made it so that there could be this consolidation thing that happens with these big companies buying all these stations. And some people made the correct predictions at the time that this was going to lead to disaster, that it was going to lead to mass cost cutting, people losing their jobs, radio stations becoming less local, as you pointed out there, Chris. Oh, yeah. And that's absolutely what happened. And I've been in radio through this whole process. I've seen it all happen from back when I used to work at the Clear Channel, what became Clear Channel.
I remember when it happened, and I wasn't even in radio.
Right. And the first step of it was, well, it also coincided with technology becoming affordable as well. So just after or just around the time when this deregulation happened was also when automation with computers became very affordable. And so they started to cut jobs when they realized, well, we can get rid of the overnight guy. And what they did was because the internet became a thing and computers were so affordable, they made it so all the automation became a thing. It used to be they had a guy standing in the studio at 3 a.m. putting CDs. I was that guy for a while, putting CDs in players and, talking between the songs. And then the computer could do it. So they had the computer do it, and then they had somebody record the guy's segments during the day. So they'd have some dude in Tampa recording segments for a station in, Alabama or vice versa. And so the overnight shift basically became a graveyard. There was nobody else there.
There is one good thing that's occurred, and it had nothing to do with the government. At least today, we do have other options like radio and satellite radio.
Internet radio, yeah.
So at least there are some options.
Oh, for the listener, there's a bevy of options now. But the poor radio business is still saddled with all the stupid FCC rules.
That's very true.
And so they don't have the ability they don't have real competition within their industry.
Right.
And so they've always been slow to change. And they haven't been able to make it work. Even with all the consolidation, even with all the cost cutting, they still have to keep cutting costs. They're still spinning off stations and trying to sell them to pay off their massive debts. And so here's the latest news from Syracuse.com. The nation's largest owner of radio stations has stripped so much staff from central New York that it may now have more channels on the air than it does full-time DJs. iHeartMedia, a national entertainment conglomerate, laid off hundreds of staffers nationwide last week, with the heaviest cuts coming from small and medium markets like Syracuse. The cuts leave popular local stations like B104, Y94, and News Radio WYSR filled with so much national programming and music on automation that they are barely Syracuse stations anymore. One competitor in town says, quote, "This is where they've been going for 20 years. They always have very flowery statements, but the reality of the matter is they're no longer a local media company, and they really need to stop pretending they are because it's embarrassing." He says you can't have a dog and tell the world it's a cat and get upset when people who say that's a dog, not a cat, unquote. In Syracuse, disc jockeys who were axed in the recent bloodshed, and this was nationwide, people from iHeartMedia, huge job losses over the last few weeks. They talk about the jocks there in town that were cut, and they name some of the names: Rick Wright, Kenny Dees, and they go on down the list. They say that during the cuts, more than 850 iHeartRadio websites removed all their DJ schedules and blogs to instead highlight the biggest national personalities and podcasts. So instead of showing off their local hosts on their local station websites, they're now showing off their national personalities, people, like Ryan Seacrest or some of these other big names. According to the story here, instead, request lines now go unanswered, and remaining shows are largely syndicated or pre-recorded from other cities. After the dust settled, just 4 local on-air voices total are broadcasting daily from 5 of their central New York radio stations. The company won't confirm its current staff, but here's who we were able to identify from sources, social media, and station websites. They then go down the list of their stations. B104.7 WBBS is a country radio station, still lists a longtime afternoon host, Rich Lauber, but a job opening for the same time slot has been posted on Indeed, Glassdoor, and LinkedIn. They got rid of the morning show the previous month and replaced it with a show from Nashville. So again, syndicating programming, replacing local content. Hot 107.9 has no local DJs.
As a guy who produces a syndicated show, does this really break your heart?
Yeah.
I mean, aren't we one of those national guys?
We are one of the national guys. It's true. And so we are in that position of providing program content to radio stations who don't want to put a local host in on their nighttime airwaves. And that's just the reality of the business. We're here to give stations an option where they need it. And it would be great if more local content was out there. If when we were the most popular on the phones was when we were a local show. Interestingly, like we can go through a whole show and not get a single phone call on as a national show. But when Free Talk Live was a local show, it was wall-to-wall calls all night long.
Wasn't that a very different time with a lot more people actually listening to the radio, though?
Without a lot of people listen to the radio today. If you look at the numbers from the industry publications, they tell you that a lot of people listen.
Stations, you'd think there would be enough of an audience listening that you would have more phone calls.
You would think. Maybe people don't believe they can get through because they think it's a national show or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I've never really understood it, but that's the reality of it. So at Hot 107.9, they have no local DJs. Instead, syndicating personalities like Elvis Duran and Ryan Seacrest. News Radio, their talk station, WSYR there. They kept their morning drive host in Syracuse, plus their morning news anchor and a producer. So they've got a morning show. And that's pretty typical of talk radio stations these days. They'll have a morning show that's local, maybe an afternoon drive show, and everything else is wall-to-wall syndication. But what they're pointing out here is that they're cutting it back even further to where some stations don't even have any local hosts. Zero. There's no one to bring you the latest news or weather or updates on whatever it is that's going on locally.
It's funny that there's cable TV, local cable TV, but there's no radio.
And that's barely even true either.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, you can join us at freetalklive.com.
Are you able to set your own schedule, work, play, or sleep whenever you want 7 days a week? Are you free to date whomever you want, even if you're already married? I'm Caleb Jones, and I've taught hundreds of thousands of men how to create low-work, high-income businesses and how to date women under your terms. Watch our free on-demand replay training with me so you can learn how to create location-independent income and date women the way you want. Go to alpha.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live is now on more than 200 radio stations nationwide. We've had more than 18 million podcast downloads, and we claim millions of listens a month. We're a multimedia ad venue with print, email, web, and terrestrial radio marketing platforms. We strive to have ad packages that cater to advertisers big and small. Contact me today at mark@freetalklive.com to see what we can do for you. mark@freetalklive.com. If you're a local advertiser, contact this station. But if you can service a national audience, contact me, mark@freetalklive.com. Is oral health important to you? If you